Hello, this is Fear Dragon, and welcome to Breaking Out, the show by North American StarCraft 2 players. Every Friday and Saturday, we'll highlight an up-and-coming North American to learn more about their personality and their playstyle. Over 4 weeks, we'll take a look at 8 players before they participate in the Breakout Invitational for over $1,000. Let's learn a little bit about the next Breakout player.
Hello, I'm Ryan Matter. I go by the handle Zan. I'm a 22-year-old Terran player from Minnesota, and I'm currently attending the University of Minnesota full-time. I'm majoring in communications, and I have an associate's degree from St. Paul College in business management. You may not be able to guess this, but I was really big into chess growing up. In middle school and high school, I played a lot competitively, and I look a lot similar to how I do now, just kind of like you know, scruffy, like you wouldn't really expect it, kind of thing. So the first day I went into chess was in my freshman year. I went in. I didn't wait till sophomore. I was just like, I'm gonna go play. And all my friends gave me crap. They're like, dude, you're gonna go play chess? What are you, a nerd? And I'm like, you wouldn't even believe. And I go in there, and basically the coach had no idea that I had any idea. I'm very unassuming, okay? He just thought, I walked in, my hair's just down, and I'm like walking in, I'm like, is this a chess club? And he's like, oh yeah, have you ever played the game before? And I'm like, yes. He's like, oh, okay, yeah. So, these are pieces, pawn, and, he's telling me all this stuff just to make sure I know. And I'm like, yeah. Like, okay, well, we'll put you up against one of our players. The guy he puts me up against is a kid I used to smash all the time in middle school, so I was like, okay, I should be able to beat him. But I hadn't practiced chess at all. I mean, that's just kind of how I was. I go in, I'm down a rook, I'm getting my butt kicked. I'm like, wow, this kid, I used to beat him all the time, now I'm getting smashed. And then, kind of like how my StarCraft games go, somehow I just end up winning through just sheer ferocity. I just outplayed him, I won, and I was like, yeah, you better watch out. I know what I'm doing. You better watch, you guys, all you nerds, I'm coming for you. In StarCraft 2, my playstyle is, I play Terran, and I play a very aggressive style of game. A lot of it's centered around aggression and just attacking non-stop. Whether it's off of 1 base or 2 base, depending on the matchup, it changes. But you can really expect me just to attack almost at any point in the game. I've gotten better at being more passive, not attacking when I really should sit back, and pushing the pace when I shouldn't be sitting back. So I've gotten a lot better at that. But my mechanics and everything else, I would rank all that stuff just okay. I'm not like an exceptional micro player. I can't split perfectly. I'm not an exceptional decision maker. I make the wrong decision quite often, and I'm not an exceptional mechanical monster. So you can expect me to make a ton of mistakes in that regard too. But I feel like I went through just sheer tenacity, and I just keep trying, and I want to make it work. And I've gotten better at using my own type of strategies and learning ways to play and be aggressive when I can attack. And that's kind of one of my strengths, I feel like, is just not giving up and just keep working on the strategy, learning the ins and outs and stuff. So the reason why I think I would deserve to be the next breakout player would be that, one, I'm a Terran player from the United States. I beat a lot of the guys that are highly ranked on ladder. You can see, I think only 2 Terran players I've competed in breaking out, maybe 3, I don't know for sure, but just, there's the ratio is really low, and that's because it's low throughout StarCraft 2 in North America. There's not many Terran players that play. I play a lot, I analyze a lot, I do all these things, but what separates me from everyone else, I feel like it's just the race that I play. It's one of the biggest things. It's really hard to name a lot of unknown American GM players that haven't already been known, like a QXC or a Neeb, that have already kind of gotten to that point. What StarCraft means to me, I see it more as just a competitive outlet and a fun game. I have a lot of fun playing it, and I love being competitive. I like to win a lot, and I like to be a perfectionist with my own play. So really, it's just like, it's kind of just like constantly working towards something, constantly improving and having fun and beating other nerds. And that's pretty much what it means to me. Nothing else to say. Thank you, and I hope that I can win the whole thing. Alright, thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to Breaking Out, the show by North American StarCraft 2 players that you need to know about. My name is Fear Dragon, and today I am joined here by Ryan Zan Matter. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good.
Alright, well, I gotta ask you, what exactly is it that does matter? Like, Matter is such a cool last name. It's like the coolest last name.
Alright, Interview over. Sorry, guys. Yeah, man.
Screw this, I'm out!
I've been hearing that since the day I was born.
Oh, dude, no.
Yeah,
I feel you, man.
No, it's
my
fine.
name is Ravi, like Ravi.
Yeah.
My entire childhood was like, hey, what's up, ravioli? I'm like, oh, you're so effing clever. You're so clever.
Oh man, the worst is like your relatives. Yeah, man. Oh, it's the worst. Yeah, I would always get, what's the matter? Or it doesn't matter.
What's the matter?
Like Ryan matter or Ryan doesn't matter. Like
hold on.
People just like to say my name.
Let me get out my notebook. I need to write these down for when I cast you.
No.
All right, but it's good to have you on the show, man. Congratulations. You were like the first Terran to qualify for breaking out ever. All the other Terrans were like invited through some means or way, shapes, or form. So how do you feel about that, man?
I felt pretty good, man. After I won, I definitely like stood up from my chair and like cheered pretty loud. So I mean, I was pretty hyped about it.
Oh man.
And yeah.
Yeah, I want to actually read off the tweet that you sent after.
Oh, you can go for it, man.
Yeah, man. You said, "I just qualified for breaking out season 3! !! !! !! !! !! Holy shit! I didn't think I'd get past Elahim. Period. This was not easy at all. Hot damn." So like you sounded really pumped up, and especially when I was just talking about like you were kind of run through the qualifier, like you made it over Elahim. He was your first round opponent. How did the qualifier go overall?
The qualifier, I mean, overall it was really difficult. I feel like Elahim was the better player. Like I feel like he's a better player than me.
Really?
So playing against him, was kind of difficult because we played on ladder, and I would say he wins maybe 60 or 70% of the games we play. So I was kind of nervous about it, but I knew I had some builds ready, so I was like, okay, I think I can take this. I can take this series. But I went with the mindset like I'm gonna lose. I can lose, but I can win. So it was like I'm gonna play to win. The game that I lost, which was the first game, was because I did a push, one base push that didn't do any damage. So Elhaim, the way he likes to play is he likes to expand and he likes to play the macro games. So he wants to like play, go from there, and then he killed me with the counter attack. And so I with that in mind, I was like, okay, I have to do damage early on. So the second map, I believe, was King Sejon Station. I had another one base build, and I sieged up his natural. I did a lot of damage, and I just kind of carried that into a kind of a macro game. Like we kept playing on, but I had that advantage, and I just ultimately won. And then the third game, it was the same one base build as in the first game, except I made the change where I would drop with 2 medevacs full of units near his mineral line. So when he pulled his SCVs, all of them pretty much died. Yeah. And then, I mean, the game was over, but I didn't like make the connection because it's like, you wouldn't think you kill all the SCVs, Yeah. So that's basically what happened.
Well, hey man, I'll tell you, as a Protoss player, your workers disappear pretty fast to Marines in a medevac drop.
Oh, for sure. Like it was good. I felt really good after beating Elhaim, for sure. Yeah. Like, it was insane.
What is it exactly about Terrans in North America? Why are there so few Terrans in North America that haven't either already really made a name for themselves, but even amongst the ones that have made a name for themselves, it seems so few and far between.
I would say a lot of it has to do with the way that Terran's designed. It's a race that definitely benefits a lot from not only having really good mechanical skills, but also having the skills to kind of execute it. So having the micro to get the most out of your units. And I think a lot of players get frustrated playing Terran because you fall into this kind of illusion where you might think you're putting more effort into the game than your opponent is, which a lot of balance will come from. But that feeling that you get and that frustration, I think is what a lot of Terrans end up quitting the game. And I'm sure this feeling goes to Zerg and Protoss players as well.
All right, man. Well, let's talk a little bit about your TVZ. I want to hear more about maybe even your games from Cham, or just generally, how do you feel about this matchup right now?
I would say that I feel confident in TVZ. I think it's my strongest matchup. It's the most fun matchup for me. I think it's the most exciting matchup. I mean, it's the best matchup when I think of StarCraft 2. I like to think of TVZ. So basically, my style consists of being really aggressive. That kind of bleeds over to my other matchups, but it's different in TVZ since I'll take a second base. TVZ is best played being aggressive. Now, I know a lot of other Terrans might do 3CC and stuff. It's more unusual to see me do it. I can do it on certain maps, but I don't like having the Zerg player set the tempo of the game. Like if I go 3CC, they might attack me, and I prefer to just be the one attacking. I think the best defense is a good offense. So
Do you feel like that you don't actually like to go to the late game versus Zerg players, or is it more just you're okay with going to the late game as long as you're able to set that tempo and set that pace of how the game is going?
yeah, I prefer to set the tempo and just keep attacking. I'll say this, like I'll say my macro is really bad, but I know it's not as bad because I consistently can go to the late game TVZ, whether I do damage or I don't do damage. I should always be able to execute this build and then take it to the late game in TVZ.
Yeah.
So it's not that I don't like playing late game. I really like it in TVZ. It's just more fun. Like it's simply based upon what's most fun. And in TVZ, not only is being aggressive a lot of fun, I think it's also the strongest way to play.
One thing I've very much noticed with a lot of players who have that sort of aggressive style, which is so much fun, I do notice that a lot of them, they win so many of their games just early on to the aggression. They've gotten so refined with those kind of aggressive playstyles and moves that it doesn't even get to the late game. So maybe it's not even necessarily that they dislike playing the late game, but they just have less experience with it. Do you feel like that's ever been a problem for your play in, say, TVZ?
Not in TVZ. I wouldn't say in TVZ. I would say in some of the other matchups it's different. But in TVZ, the matchup, it kind of stays the same. Like from the mid game to the late game, like the only thing you can really do is like ultras or something. So it's always like I'll always feel pretty confident regardless. There's no specific reason why I'm trying to avoid it. Like it's more that I just have more fun attacking.
I do want to ask you one kind of final question about how you feel about the matchup. If you had to identify one strength and one weakness for the matchup, what would those two things be?
I think my greatest strength is that my aggression allows me to be defensive at the same time. So even if you all in me, it doesn't really affect me if I open up the right way. And if you open up greedy or standard, I can still do a lot of damage. My weakness would probably be my macro in a way. Like it's really hard to multitask and do damage all the time and then macro behind it. So my weakness would be not being able to do damage and at the same time not macroing behind it.
So it sounds kind of like you feel like your weakness is when you aren't able to set that tempo or that momentum you were talking about before.
For the most part, I would say, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how the momentum swings in this next game that you actually submitted, the Terran versus Zerg of the day. So guys, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
It's game time! Terran versus Zerg.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the Terran versus Zerg. My name is Fear Dragon, and today I'm joined here by the infamous Zombie Grub. What's up, Zombie Grub?
Yo, why am I infamous?
Wait,
that's not good.
Oh, actually, infamous is the one that's negative, isn't it? Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
Well, now that we've established that I hate Zombie Grub, confirmed, of course, we're going to go ahead and jump in and introduce the players in this game as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map atop the red Zerg player. Not sure if it's a Korean artist or a different one, but it is an artist.
In the top position, as the blue Terran, it's IvD Zan. Or Zan? I think it was Zan.
I like alternate between them, and I think during the interview I may have alternated a couple times, and he just never corrected me. So I'm just going with whatever is said.
Yeah, good deal. You know, for me, I don't know, you can't really mess up Zombie Grub, right? But I guess if there was a way, I'd probably be very specific, but a lot of people just don't care. They pick something at random, and they're just like, whatever you want to do.
Okay, I have to say, though, like, also, I don't know, like, some people may know this. I have the name, like, Ravi, which is an Indian name, but of course I live in America. So I'm mostly surrounded by white people, no offense. And they don't know how to pronounce my name. So after years and years of this, you just stop caring how people pronounce their name. You get like an error bound, and it's like, if you're remotely in the proximity, you just accept it, and you don't actually even notice anymore that they're mispronouncing it.
Within like a 10% error, you're okay.
Exactly. So I'm sure it's a similar way, but
alright.
Yeah, let's really quickly talk about the playstyle that Zan was saying he likes to go for in Terran versus Zerg. Now, Zan is a very aggressive player. He definitely made that clear in the interview and everything. But one thing that he said he sometimes struggles with is his macro, and maybe that's even a little bit more present in the fact that he said he likes to go for the more aggressive openings. He doesn't always go for the 3cc style that a lot of players go for. Now, Zombie Grub, what do you kind of think about that sort of more aggressive style in TVZ?
Well, it's certainly it's a lot more fun. I mean, let's just get out of the way. Like, it really, as a player, to play like that is a lot more fun. You do have a lot more variety. There's a bunch of different two-base builds that you can do. So it really depends on what he means when he says two-base. I mean, there's really weird stuff that means that you're gonna stand two-base forever, which would be pretty rare. But then, of course, there's stuff like, like Hellbat pushes beforehand, or, Banshee before the third one could technically count as a two-base build. So, but, there is something to be said about, mixing it, like, I guess you would say that most people do 3cc as a standard, and anything else is what they throw in a best of. I guess for him, it's kind of the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So, like, he does, like, two-base stuff standard, and then maybe he'll throw in a 3cc and, like, try and, surprise them with the macro game.
Yeah, that's definitely the sense I got from him. We do actually have the Reaper harassing over here. Artist not going to be losing any of those drones, and we should be seeing whatever the follow-up is over here from Zan, throwing down the natural expansion command center and also getting up the factory. And this does lead me into what he was kind of saying before. You were talking about some of the variety of things that he could do, and he did mention things like, Hellbat drops, mech timings, Blue Flame Hellion, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's thrown out a second gas, so, I mean, this could be a Banshee, or it could be a number of things except the third CC, so already we're getting to see that here.
Alright, well, Artis himself has also gotten up that gas geyser a little bit earlier on, is getting up that Zergling speed, and just has one guy still mining gas, so everything looking pretty normal from him. I would like to see a little bit creep spread start up, but I guess his natural expansion is still finished up relatively recently.
Yeah. He's getting only just like one additional queen. So, of course, she's going to spread creep from the top and then go to the bottom. So that won't be happening for a while.
Yeah.
Zan does, I'm doing it too. I was pretty sure I was going to say Zan the entire time, but
exactly,
apparently not. Apparently not. All right, yeah, so he's going to be going for at least up to Banshees. This was kind of what I was talking about. Like, technically, you could put Banshees into a two-base build. He still has an option to go ahead and add anything like, the Hellions, a lot of Marines if he wants to use the barracks production. Seriously, we're gonna wait like 30 seconds and we'll see. But Artis is gonna get like really great scout here.
Yeah.
As there was there was Marine production. No, there wasn't. Oh, those are two Reapers inside the bunker. Yeah, I mean, this overlord can just like stay on here and make sure that it is in fact a Banshee. And you can check if it's cloak or not.
Yeah, definitely, and of course, just seeing that in fact the Banshee is most likely gonna come out just because of the tech lab. I mean, would you ever see like a Raven come out?
Only on weird players, right? Like, and almost always on people who go for the turtleneck. Not to name names or anyone, but it looks like right. It looks like Zan was actually purposely waiting to start cloak, maybe. I mean, he has a lot of gas, so I think that was the case. The overload moved away. It's always possible that you get a Viking first, but no matter, like, unless you are a weird player that gets a Raven, you're always going to follow up with a Banshee if you're going to bother putting a tech lab on a starport.
Yeah, Suicide Renin over here from the Hellions and the Reapers, trying to look for a couple of drone kills. Not sure how many they're getting. They're getting a decent number of the Zerglings. 6 workers killed, 9 workers killed. Oh man, that last Hellion shot, really productive over there. And he actually evens up the worker count. I don't know what that actually means right now.
Oh well, I mean, Artis just made 11 drones. So.
Yeah.
Well, there he goes up again. But that was 11 drones that he had to make, right? And he's going up into a 2-base build, the third's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but surprisingly fast layer, I guess you could call it. Not really like super fast at all, but 2 gases as opposed to just the 1. Zan did see this. Did he see the third? No, he didn't see the third.
No.
I mean, seeing a Roach Warren and knowing that they have 2 gases, you might be a little afraid of something like like a 1/1 Roach, or even that's on limb. I don't know, but I don't think that he is, especially since he is getting the Banshee. That's actually a pretty good like safety measure, besides also being able to deal damage.
Yeah, behind this I want to also note that he's just still producing those Hellions, getting out a large number of them. Finally has a 3rd command center on the way, but he's actually adding on more barracks. So this is kind of interesting to me, just because he's getting a lot more of these Hellions. That almost kind of indicates to me, losing the Banshee. Yeah, the Hellions almost like normally indicate to me like, a player that's maybe interested in going to a more mech-oriented style, but adding on more barracks, that kind of tells me like maybe more bio, and of course getting skin.
For sure. Well, what he might be doing is, A is going to surprise Artis with the amount of Hellions he had. I mean, Artis considers that he already took down 4 that suicided into his base, so he should only be dealing with 2, maybe even 0. So to see 8 come out, he's going to be pretty surprised. And in fact, he could totally get this huge drone killer all lined up, please. The Terran inside? No, he's not going to be able to get it.
Oh, man.
So close
Well,
though.
actually, hold on. Thoughts on Bureau. He's actually still in a good position. He rows so many of the drones over here. Oh my god, the damage
Whoa.
is being done for real. And even the Banshee is still actually working away on some of these units.
Yeah. I mean, it could have technically, been targeting down those
Yeah.
drones, but the queens did take care of it. I don't think he even lost the queen that I was targeting, but still, those Hellions did a massive amount of damage. And then I'm talking about, like, Artist was not expecting. He got a Roach one for what I think he was actually going to do something different until those first Hellion barbecues went down. Like,
Yeah.
because if it was just a purely safety Roach Warren, he only got 2 roaches. Usually, if it's for safety, you get like 4 or 5. But I don't know. The point is that he was not expecting to have them like he wasn't like preparing to be in position to defend Hellions. He was like, "Yo, what's with the Hellions?" And of course, got a lot of drones roasted.
Exactly. It kind of came out of nowhere, and now as we sort of see like the game sort of settle down to a more calm pace for at least a little bit. I do want to kind of note that it's sort of interesting. We're already at almost the 12-minute mark, and we don't have actually any upgrades for either of these players. 1-1 is on the way for Zan, but is that sort of just like an impact of how aggressive the Terran players' openings have been this game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he's going for a 3cc standard, of course, he'd already have, so many SCVs, and he already would have, his upgrades just a little farther ahead, but it's usually not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually more worried about Artist not having his upgrades, and actually
Right.
huge drop goes down in the main. So, upgrades aside, does he have anything to deal with this?
Well, he has a couple of Mutalisks, some Zerglings, no Banelings or anything, but the Roaches may be able to add in a little bit of tankability to this army. He has to be very careful with those Mutalisks, make sure that they don't take too much damage to the Marines, but there's not a whole lot left, and he should be able to clean it up.
If that was a pure Marine drop, I don't want to say that Zan like wins right there, but it would have been so deadly because he didn't have any Banelings with that army. I mean,
Yeah,
they would have gotten a good position and they would have just torn through everything. I mean, in fact, Artist has been really greedy. He kind of has to be, right? Because he lost so many drones. He's been just remaking them constantly. That, his Baneling Nest, which usually pairs up to the end of making your lair, is only just finishing right now. And of course, those upgrades that we talked about, aren't even started. Like the +1 melee is not even started.
Right, and I mean, just not only is the fact that the Baneling Nest just finishing up going to be a little bit problematic, but he's also going to have to wait around for his Baneling speed and everything to finish up. I guess actually Zan doesn't really have that many units, so it's not really a threat of a big push out coming anytime soon. But still, it is a little bit concerning how late he's actually getting that finished up, but he does at least have it now.
Yeah. Man, I feel like he's forgotten the +1 melee. He has money. He has the gas. We usually see, even though mutas aren't really as big as they were in the matchup, we still usually see a +1 attack for flyers just thrown in there. We don't have that either, but I mean, these mutas there's one little turret in each, only in a natural, and a third.
Yeah, what I think is really interesting, just how aggressive, like, I know Zan was telling me he likes to be aggressive, but geez, he's moving out with this, like, paltry little force. This doesn't actually look like he should be able to do anything.
It's like, it's really cool on one hand. On the other hand, it just feels like, it's so easy to overwhelm from Artist. But the thing is that Artist is also kind of like, he's kind of befuddled by like, wow, this guy's really aggressive. I can't catch a moment to like just take my breath, which usually you do have. And well, I mean, certainly paying the price. He has Baneling speed, attacking off creep into Marauders. Oh, those Widowmines.
Oh my god.
Those are good.
Absurd amount of damage. The Mutalisks actually don't have any Zergling support anymore either. They can't actually save this 4th without them.
Yeah, so 4th is gonna have to be canceled. Oh, it doesn't focus that the lings are coming in. All right, it's not gonna be killed, but it certainly is low.
Oh man, so are those medevacs. So Mutalisks going after the Marines and everything. They should be able to actually kill off both the medevacs and all the units inside of them. But yeah, as you were saying, like the hatchery is gonna be so low on health. I don't actually know how long it's actually gonna stay alive against Zan's kind of a constant aggression style.
Yeah. Zan kind of missed an important thing right here. He did not get his 5th gas. As a bio player, you don't want to get your 6th usually. Although with the, with how factory heavy you've been trying to go, like we're always adding in Thors earlier and earlier on. Some people are adding on the 6th one, but you definitely need the 5th one. So he's going to be a little gassed up getting, 2 Widowmines, a couple Marauders, and a Thor with every single production round.
Yeah, kind of interesting, but I actually really quickly do want to kind of highlight the fact that Artist has gotten some pretty good creep spread up, and that's all considering with how aggressive Zan's also being. He's constantly pushing it on the map. He's also scanning a ton, but the creep spread is just ridiculous from Artist.
Well, here's the thing. Well, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I feel like an attack's gonna happen right here. There it goes. There it goes. Rolling in right here.
Yeah, Baling's charging in. Widowmines get some okay hits off. I think that Artist should be able to clean all this up without too much trouble.
So here's what I wanted to, talk about, and I knew the attack was happening, so... Oh, no overseer. It's a big deal. Let's clear up all these with the mines. Oh, I want to drop in the main, too. This guy.
Gonna be able to take out that Spore Caller. Maybe no, Marines and Marauders not really actually gonna be focus firing those down, but they will eventually get cleaned up. Oh my god, these things are surviving forever.
Dang, Zan has killed 39 drones in the entire game. Artis has killed 1. Like, I don't know. So
yes, you were saying.
Point is that Artis getting away with a lot of creep spread going to his Terran opponent, which is odd because Zan is not using this attack path. Which, is both a blessing and a curse. He's kind of surprising Artis by going all the way to the left, but also that means there's no reinforcement points. Like, the creep spread is this far out, so a counterattack could be deadly. Like, if the Zerg counterattacks you, they're putting a lot of faith into it because they're rolling off of creep. Unless their creep is at your front door, and then suddenly it's A-okay.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. He is finally starting to go down some of those different attack paths and actually just clear up some of that creep. And at the same time, I don't know. I think there was like a Widow Mine that got some shots off on the Mules. I saw a little bit of blinking on the mini map, but yeah, finally, I think we're actually starting to see Zan take the 4th expansion, start to look toward the later stages of the game. But kind of interestingly enough, you can see like he loves playing this aggressive style, but he also said like he actually really enjoys the late game. It's just that he doesn't always necessarily have the greatest macro to get there.
Yeah. Oh, these Minivacs. Oh, the Minivacs are gonna die. Is he? Well, the main engagement goes down. All of the Widow Mines. Oh! Well, I guess they killed all the Banelings, too. That was a weird trade. I don't know, but it looks like Zan's gonna get it.
The Medivacs are also keeping all these Mules on the far right-hand side of the map. They're only just now getting killed off. That's gonna allow him to push in over here to this 4th expansion. It is still very low on health.
Yeah, I mean, he should just, like, snipe it. Yeah, he sniped it. I mean, he could get out of here, too. He doesn't, he knows the attack is incoming. He doesn't want to unburrow those Widow Mines, although they're not quite ready to... They're not armed yet. Now they are. Oh, God.
Oh, boy. Widow Mine's going off. Gains a lot of the Zerglings. The Mutilus flock does stay intact, though, and the army of Zan is going to get cleaned up. Artis actually has still a pretty scary army left over. I'm kind of worried for Zan in the defense of the upcoming attack.
Yeah. Zan, importantly, you know what? Artis never got +2 melee. I know we noted that +1 was really late, but there it goes back on the production tab. You could argue that maybe it's not that big of a deal. It's more about like the Banelings getting good hits than it is about having like those extreme upgrades. But it's still a really big deal when Zan is going to be going up to 3-3. Artis did get an invitation, but I think at one point. But big counterattack with the Mutas. Yeah. I wondered about taking this base for Zan. It's going to go down.
I mean, yeah, you normally expect the expansion that I guess is expanding toward your Zerg opponent in this situation, but yeah, the 4th expansion gonna go down. That's actually pretty painful. He doesn't have any other expansion behind this, and we can actually see like Zan has pointed this out himself. Like you can see the kind of like the rally points and stuff in his main base a little bit mixed up. A lot of these buildings not really producing right now.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Ooh. It's a lot of Marines. I mean, I guess if the Mutas were going in there. Wow, well, those Banelings. This is really gonna work out. Oh, that Widow Mine.
Oh my god. Oh, there's still enough Banelings to take out a majority of these SCVs, I think. Banelings, what are you doing? Banelings! Right there!
Are you serious?
So close.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, got it.
Alright, yeah.
I guess he was dealing with this drop that was abusing the high ground cliff on Catalina. Very annoying to deal with as a Zerg player.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Right now, it's so hard to keep track of everything that's going on. Like, there's always just these small little drops that Zan keeps sneaking in, and now he's also pushing in with the remainder of his forces. But he has to be careful. There's only one Medivac here, and look at how low this health army is.
Those Widow Mines. There's only, I mean, those Banelings, there are only 3 of them, but they got such great hits. This is gonna be absolutely cleaned up, okay? But Zan he's stopped. He hasn't stopped production, but he's kind of like, he is faltering on that production. It's no longer 12 Marines, 1 Marauder, 3 Widow Mines, and 2 Medivacs, and that's where like his army doesn't look that scary. It's only Marines is actually, it's not that big of a deal. You can make a lot of them, but as a standing force, they aren't that great.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. Now, generally the response, I mean, it's the intuitive response, right? Like, you get a lot of Banelings against just a very Marine-heavy army, but I'm actually kind of looking, okay, Artis is just barely sort of reestablished that 4th expansion. He hasn't even gotten the gas geysers really up and running just yet. How much of an economy does Artis actually have right now? Because he's like mined out of his natural expansion, mined out of his main base. Can he actually afford to produce like a massive number of Banelings right now?
Well, I mean, according to his bank, yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I just looked at that. I was like, oh my god.
yeah. He just used it on 12 Mutilus, so he's gonna go. what, up to 30. So
Yeah.
you know, I mentioned at the beginning, people have really been going away from the Mutalist style. You know, the Thors with their auto attack changing is just such a big deal. But certainly the counterattack is still there. Just artists really has an opportunity to do any counterattacks. There was the one that hit the fourth, and that was great. But in terms of getting the production line, it never happened.
Yeah, solid Baneling hit over there. 13 kills, and a lot of them Banelings actually. And he's going to be able to push in a little bit further. The creep spread is actually relatively decent on this side, despite the fact that Zan's constantly been pushing down it. But here we're going to be seeing the big engage of the Banelings starting to roll in. Are they going to be able to get some good hits off? The Medevac's actually getting focus fire down by the majority of the Mutalists, and the army is cleaned up.
Yeah, but off to the right, there's another huge
Oh my
force, and it's going to take out this fifth. For sure.
Just one saving grace, you clean up the army, but then, of course, Zan is attacking at a different angle entirely.
Yeah.
This army will probably also get cleaned up, although the Mutals actually fighting the Marines, not exactly the best idea right now.
Yeah, and they're absolutely terribly upgraded, which is another reason why it's so weird that he keeps on putting all of his gas and minerals into mutas. If he was putting all of his gas and minerals into Banelings, I kind of think he would have already won. Like, I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't say that, but it's just like, you know, that is what Zergs have been doing, is going for just a lot of Banelings and hoping to overrun their opponents. And, you know, these mutas, they're cool and all, but they're not really doing what they were really great at, which is counterattacking, getting the production line, really forcing the opponent to go back and forth. He's the one that's being pulled apart, actually.
Exactly, and this is actually something that Zan talked a lot about before in the actual interview that you guys heard. He really likes to set the pace of the game. He really wants to set the tempo. And unfortunately, he just hasn't been, his Zerg opponent just has not been able to. That's actually the big problem, is that Zan has been setting the pace of this game. How many times, I think we've seen like one real attack on Zan's turf, and it was those Banelings, like in the Zerglings, that managed to get a run into the natural. That's the only time I've really seen the Zerg army actually attacking Zan.
Yeah, I know, it's really odd. Oh my god, he has no Banelings. Oh, he can't. There's no way you could possibly win against him with only 3 Banelings. He's gonna go in here at the mutas, but geez, I don't. No, that ain't gonna work out.
Oh god, this 4th expansion is gone, and it looks like Artis actually knows it. He's just gonna abandon ship over here, and the hatchery is gonna go down. At the same time, Zan doing his tried and true aggression on multiple fronts, going after the other expansion on the right-hand side of the map. If you can take that out, actually, then there's actually gonna be no 4th expansion.
Oh god. And Artis is completely mine out of his main and his natural. I mean, the 3rd really is not mining, and that bank that was there before, he still has a large gas bank. Mineral is just, no, it's not there.
Alright, well, Artis has got to make do with what he has, and as you were saying, like, the minerals are the big problem. He's actually moving in with a large flock of Mutals over to that hidden, I want to call this like a hidden expansion. I guess it's kind of a hidden expansion. Artis is going to be able to clean this up without any problems, but what is he going to have to defend back at home?
Nothing. There's just nothing that's great, you know? He has 6 Banelings, 2 more are morphing. His 3/3 is going to finish, but it's so not important.
Yeah, I think he's just going to have to pray for the best Baneling hits that he can manage, get those Zerglings in a nice little sweep around the Marines, make sure that they can't run any further, and I don't know, hope that Thor doesn't target fire any Mutals too quickly.
Bane's going in here not really getting... Oh, well, actually, those are kind of okay. Yeah, those are alright.
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, at this point, I feel like, you know, one more round of Zerglings, if you can just manage to muster them out, but...
Yeah.
Oh, he just didn't have them income anymore. He's been picked apart too heavily.
Yeah. Flocking over, like, on top of the Thor, but with the Marines there. Oh, and the Widowmines also Thor as well. Oh, bye-bye.
Oh god, and with those Mutals going down, I think that's probably going to be it for Artis. This is kind of his final hurrah. GG gets called, and Zan going to be taking that game. And I don't know, Zan, what were your thoughts about that one?
I mean, Zan, like, you know, obviously he played, like, really fun. He was, like, exactly what he described to us, right? You know, he was, you know, it's all over the place. He was aggressive. Maybe his macro was, you know, a little, like, you know, faltered at times. But I look at that game, and it's like, you know... I really feel like artists, like whatever artist it is, you don't know if it's the Korean one or, you know, just some guy or likes the word or whatever. It's like he wasn't playing the most current style of ZVT.
Yeah.
You know? And if he had been, I feel like Zan just would have been crushed, you know, like attacking as far away as he was, you know, constant trading out that kind of, you know, maybe didn't seem that great. Relying on the mutas like artists did not work out in that game.
Yeah, definitely. I have to agree. Like, there's definitely a lot of things that I think would have been interesting if Zan, in fact, had been playing against a different style. But guys, with that being said, that's going to be it for the Terran versus Zerg. We're going to be jumping into the analysis segment. Unfortunately, we had some issues with kind of replays being different and like just trouble with 2.1.4. So we actually couldn't load up some of those older replays. But guys, we're going to be jumping into an analysis segment of a Terran versus Zerg with Zan. I know it's not the one that we just watched, but it still should be pretty educational. He still has a very similar style. So check it out, guys. Hey everyone, hopefully you guys enjoyed that TVZ. I'm back here with Zan in the analysis segment. Zan, what the heck was going on in this game, man? And also, what was the context for this game? Where was this game played?
Alright, so this game was nerve-wracking for me. So this is Game 3 against Cham in the Breaking Out Invitational. Winner qualifies, loser goes home like a baby. And I didn't want to be a baby. So there was a lot going on in my head. I had just lost the previous game. I had lost a standard macro game, and I was like, standardish. And I was like, I'm going to go back to what was working for me. So I'm going to go back to my Hellbatross because I'm really comfortable with, even if my opponent knows it's coming, I don't care if anyone knows it's coming. If I commit enough to it, I know how to make it work. And it's one of those things that it's weird in that it's a build that can work despite your opponent knowing what's coming at them. So I figured I'm really confident in this. And Cham had a really hard time defending this before, so I'm going to do this again. I feel really confident.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump in and talk a little bit more about the game. So what was actually going on in this game then?
So this game, it's going to be, you'll see in a moment that basically a lot of it's centered around me being hyper aggressive. I'm multitasking as hard as I can, and to the best of my ability, and it's Hellbat Traps going everywhere, and I'm trying to make them last. I'm trying to do damage, and we'll see that the damage is kind of done, kind of not. He kind of defends it, and then it goes into a back and forth kind of push and shove until I kind of overwhelm him through some more better used multitasking. Not that I multitask necessarily better, but the decisions I made behind some of them were more effective. And so with this build, basically, you just open up Reaper. In this build, even if Reaper builds like, oh, he's going to specifically do this. It's kind of hard to tell because with just Reaper openings, you can do Cloak Banshee, you can do one Banshee without Cloak into Mech. There's a lot of different things I've kind of thought about to make sure that my opponents have no idea what variation I'm going for. So basically standard TVZ, throw stuff on the low ground, your CC on the low ground to be as greedy as possible. Hellions. And then we see we'll see a reactor go up, we'll see Medivacs, all this kinds of stuff here. And basically, the big thing here is to just pressure your opponent, see what you can do, and you load up your Medivac and try to get into the base and do damage. Some maps it works better than others. This is one of those maps that doesn't work too well, just because his overlords can kind of see everything. And in addition, he's actually playing well in that he's going for the fourth hatch is kind of crazy, but he's going for roaches. Typically, I don't see a fourth hatch. It's a bit crazy because it's easy to abuse, but since he feels comfortable against this build that, hey, I can be extra greedy and then just mitigate that damage by getting more drones, which does work to an extent. So I drop into the main. I'm thinking, gotta kill drones. So I'm trying to dance around, get away, and then I'm trying to get back to my Medivac if I can. If not, whatever. Make a little bit of a mistake there, losing my Hellion, but it's okay. So now you can see at this point in the game, all of the Hellions that are doing damage at the main are just to slow down his economy, slow down his units, throw him off kilter, because then I start attacking with the Medivacs. So we have two Medivacs full of Hellbats. We've got more being built at home, and we're going to be attacking like crazy in a little bit. Third base has gone up. It's a bit late, but it's about normal if it's going to be super heavy aggression. And then we just kind of attack everywhere. So he has the defense and spore crawlers. I'm not scared, because you just either go over them, you dodge them a little bit. Really, you're just trying to get on top of anything, drones or queens. You can do damage. If you can't, just run away. Have the threat constantly be in there. And I'm attacking his fourth base with one Hellbat's running over there.
Yeah.
I have some more Medivacs on the left side, and so I'm just trying to attack from every position possible, while also getting up at home. I'm also getting the standard. You'll see this off of 3cc or any other type of economical bio build, which is 2 eBays, 2 barracks, standard stuff. Get 1-1, get your bio out. Nothing too crazy. I'm buying time to make that transition through the use of these Hellbats.
Yeah, you actually kind of go crazy with the Hellbat aggression, and that actually does bring me to the question of, when you decide to go for like this very harassment focused style, in response to seeing like this early fourth expansion, and that kind of makes me wonder, like, is there a reason why you don't decide to just go for, a big killing blow like push off of two bases, saying like, I could just muster up an army and actually kill off the fourth expansions. Instead, you seem to be going for like a lot of big damage and pulling him apart because he's in like a lot of different locations.
If I was going for like a standard build, if I was going for just Hellion Banshee standard, I could do a big 2-base kind of attack off of that. But since I'm going for Hellbat drops in this fashion, my units are all kind of tied up. Like I kind of have to do this off of this build. I can't really
I see.
switch back. If I were to go mech, I could, and I have done a mech variation off of 2-base, which you could do. But if you transition to bio, it's really, you just can't muster enough forces to get that one big punch before he has
Right.
enough units to defend. So yeah, so right now, just attacking the main. I dropped it on top of the drones, hold position, boom, fantastic stuff. Same thing at the third, boom. So it's all at the same time. So he's all over the place, and it does a decent amount of damage just because there's so much stuff going on. Like all the drones at his third do die, and
Decent is a nice way to put it.
yeah, I mean, he just, there was just so much going on. He's just like, what the heck's going on? Like, it's not many Terrans I feel like go for this type of aggression, which is just insane. Like, this is just insanity. Like, it's literally just attacking everywhere, and then I just kind of pick up and go home, and yeah, go back to macro.
And you get away with like a majority of the things there. Like you lose a medevac and like a couple of Hellbats. Like it's really, you keep a majority of the stuff alive.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. If you can keep all this stuff alive, that's pretty good because that adds into your, your next big attack later on. Whether which we'll see that kind of, it doesn't really work too well. I should have probably waited a bit longer with a bigger attack. Maybe wait till 2-2 or so, because really the dropping at this point that I'm doing is probably a bit excessive, just because I've done so much damage. I can really focus on just getting I could focus on macroing. I can focus on getting further ahead with, maybe not further ahead, but getting to a position where my attack will do a lot. And so we see that I'm attacking maybe prematurely.
Yeah.
Attack at the third because he's got a ton of roaches, like he's ready for it. But the reason why this kind of is okay, why I make this attack work, is if I didn't have, if all my units were down here, I think I may not have been able to do as much damage, because instead I opted for 2 medevacs full of units to attack the main. So what made this attack work was having the split forces. So we'll see that I defend my third with the units I had there. I do take some damage. I do lose, I believe, a lot of my SCVs though, which is a bummer. But I'm able to, I think I kill the lair, maybe not.
Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah, I do kill the lair. Okay. So, which is good. So I kill the lair, stops his hive, so he can't get 3/3 right away, can't go ultra, so he's kind of stuck on his current tech, which is okay for me. And I see that he's got a composition I'm not too comfortable with, which is Ling, Roach, Baneling, and I figured, tanks, getting some tanks, because tanks counter, Roach Hydra, and we get into this big engagement here where I have so many Marauders that my Marauders and tanks just counter the Roaches. I have 2/2 to his 0/2. And it's really, he thought, it looks deceptive. If he had 2/2 with Roach Hydra, yeah, he'd probably muscle through that. But just with pure Roach against mainly Marauder tank, not gonna happen. So I'm in a good spot again. I'm like, okay, sweet. My third's not looking too good because he killed a lot of my SCVs there. But still, my composition is better than his composition, especially when I hit 3/3. So the longer the game goes on, the better it kind of gets for me. And if you're 3-base Terran against 4-base Zerg, you're still pretty even. Like, usually Zerg has to, if Zergs are even bases, then they're probably behind, or they're going for a big all-in. But if they're just ahead one base, it's not a big deal. Terran can suffice with just 3.
Yeah, and I really like the addition of the Siege Tanks. I know that you were kind of talking about that briefly on why you were kind of making them against, roaches and stuff. But it's something that we really just don't, even against Roach Hydra, I feel like it's something we don't see that often from a lot of Terran players. Do you know why that is, or why even you just maybe even disagree with them, since you are going for the Siege Tanks?
Yeah, and this is really good with your macro. I think Marine Marauder tank is the ideal composition against Roach Hydra, in my opinion. And this is from replays of Tasia, and who's the other player? Journey. I think Innovation. Like I've watched a lot of replays where they face it, and this is like the go-to composition. Heavy on Marauders. I'm not sure if I had done this in the game in this game in the right fashion, but
Hmm.
basically with your 5 racks is you'll typically go 2 tech labs, 1 reactor with your first 3,
Hmm.
and then you get 1 more reactor and then 1 more tech lab on the 4th and 5th rack. So you have a total of 3 tech labs, 2 reactors. So you pump out
Hmm.
that super heavy Marauder Marine composition, which you do need to fight. Once I made this switch, that building switch, my play against Roach Hydra improved significantly in
Hmm.
terms of army compositions. So yeah, it's like I figured it would work really well against this, just because Marauders can tank the Banelings, tanks can kill Banelings with splash damage, and Marines are just generally good all around. So I figured this would be
Hmm.
an ideal comp, anyways.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So I mean, defending his attack, I figured let's go attack right now. I apply pressure. I do make some small mistakes, losing some Marines here and there, but ultimately, I'm still forcing him to make units he doesn't want to make, and I'm using that to buy time to get my eco up. And yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. Once I hit 3-3, we should be good. Like once I sniped his lair, it's like he's stuck on the tech he currently has, unless he commits to getting a lair and then a hive. And then, of course, his gas is kind of screwed up because he doesn't have gases at his 4th, or his 3rd, or his main. So he's just been like, there's just so much going on that he's having a hard time manage. So again, I drop in 2 different places. His main, which 1 drop screwed up, and his 4th. So I'm just kind of buying more time with these kind of poking. These drops are just to poke and prod him, while my main force kind of gears up and moves out again, which I transitioned to more mines because I feel like tanks, although good in this game, I felt that mines would be better, just because there was a lot of lings and banelings, which they went okay. I mean, not the greatest, but I'm still taking really good fights. You can see his supply is really low, and my drop in his main is still doing damage, and
Yeah.
just having I'm just basically at this point I'm picking him apart. And I believe this push that's coming up is the push that ends the game. You know, he gets into a position where he can't really make a comeback, and Baneling's still doing damage at his 4th, and my drop at his main is still just kind of hanging out. So
Yeah,
yeah, push in, and yeah. So all I have to do right now is just kind of kill the hatchery off, and then just have his army attack into me. There's no reason for me to push him too far. I just wanted to attack into me. You can kind of see that it works into my favor. And at this point, the game is over because I have my 4th behind all that, and then I have my army pushing here. So really, there's no way you can make a comeback. So we can kind of see from times we can do times 2 to finish it up. I'm just killing creep, and I guess this is a good question to answer. You know, how do I finish the game from here? Basically, if you're in this position, all you really have to do is just get your 200 army. You know, not lose too much stuff. I lost some stuff to those shenanigans from the Banelings, but really, you just have to get a big army at that point. Keep getting SCVs to make up for them, but really just get that big kill army and then just push forward. You know, scan, make sure no burrowed Banelings. You know, that should be popping into your head as a way that he can make a comeback into the game. And then just like, yeah, make sure his bases are low, and make sure your bases are higher than his, and just push forward.
Yeah, and I do want to really quickly apologize to everyone. The camera's been a little bit shaky because apparently my mouse is just completely frozen up. I don't know what's going on with that. But yeah, continue on. I'm moving around with the mouse keys, so sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, perfectly fine. So we see that his all-in push from right here, like to my 4th, because he needs to stop that 4th from mining if he wants to have a chance to win. That's his like final like desperation attack. And then really this army, even if he does kill that 4th, like this army is so scary. The mines are placed pretty well, even for me. Usually I place them like all clumped up together like all the time, so that's like good for me. And yeah, so really it's just like he's in a position where even if he does kill the 4th, he still loses. And a planetary against just pure roach is still really strong. He's still very strong with SCP support, and we see that he taps out.
Yeah, a really sick game, and I gotta say, man, that game was actually so awesome that I was uncertain if I had accidentally just casted the awesome game when I saw it. I was like, well, that was kind of really sick. Your aggression in that game was amazingly fun to watch. I just gotta say that.
Yeah,
do you
thanks.
have do you have any final thoughts really quickly before we actually jump into the next segment?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing I have to say is the reason why I play such a flashy style sometimes, at least in TVZ, I can get away with it. But it's just that it is so much fun to play. Like, really, like, the reason why I do is just because it's as fun to play as it is to watch. Like, it's just a blast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
that's all I gotta say.
I knew what was going to happen. I knew where the drops were going to happen, and I still had trouble, like right now, following where all this stuff was happening. And it was like that action packed. So I'm looking forward to seeing how you do in the TVP, man, because I know that's something that a lot of people have some trouble making work. So
Yeah, for sure.
looking forward to seeing how that's going to go. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going back to the interview. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Fear Dragon, and once again joined here by Zan. And let's talk a little bit more about your actual life and how you're kind of going about living it, what you're up to these days. So right now you're 22 years old. You're attending University of Minnesota, not Michigan.
Do another take. Do one more take.
No, let's roll it. Roll with it. All right. This is the first take, everybody. This is the first take that we're doing. All right.
I started cracking up in the beginning. I thought you were gonna say Michigan again, so I started laughing.
Oh my god. No, nobody knows. I never said Michigan. It's Minnesota. You're attending the University of Minnesota. How is it going, man? You're actually like you're majoring in business, and also I'm trying to remember what your other major was, but like, how's it going over there, man?
It's going really well. So right now I'm living with my parents again. So I moved out, came back. I'm gonna stay here probably for my senior year of college, and I am majoring in communication studies at the University of Minnesota, and I have an associate's degree from St. Paul College. Yeah, it's a community college in the area in business management. So I'll have 2 degrees when I'm done, and I couldn't be happier with them. The weird thing was that I was going to do an internship. I've been offered internships, but I've turned them down. But I was going to do an internship, but right now I've kind of put that aside. At this moment, for sure, like I put it aside, and I think that after I finish college, there's a lot of big plans I have with some other people that we've been talking about for Legacy of the Void and more StarCraft 2 related content.
Oh.
You know, IvD Gaming. You know, I just joined them, so it's looking really good. And if I want to make something of this, you know, this is pretty much the best time. And it's like that thing. It's one of those things like with college. Like as you get older, it's harder to actually go to college. And I feel like with StarCraft, it's like if you don't do it when you have the chance, you're probably not going to go to it later on, or like, the opportunity will just float away.
But how is balancing school and StarCraft right now?
It's one of those things where you do have to make a sacrifice. They say in college you can choose between 3 different things, and that's grades, sleep, and friends. So basically, I was choosing a little bit of each category. It was like a little bit of hang out with my friends here and there. Grades were all right, and then sleep, I got some. And then StarCraft, I'm gonna stay at the university, go to the library, do all my work, come home, you know, stream or go to the gym, and it should be easy. I should be able to do it if I'm motivated.
And you kind of mentioned in your application video, you used to be, and I quote you, you used to be really big into chess. Why is it used to be? Do you not really play much chess anymore?
Not as much as I used to, for sure. I would say the biggest reason why is just kind of like I lost my passion. Like I just wasn't as into it anymore. Like I still play it from time to time. I'll play against my brother, he was the guy who played chess before me, and so kind of following my brother's footsteps. I was like, oh, I'm gonna play, and so pretty much that's it. It's a lot of fun and stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of like getting back into the game. It takes a lot of work, and it's not something I have the time to. I've thought about it plenty of times, like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up a chess book, you know, mate in like 5, and then learn all those, and then get back in the scene. But right now, it's like I already won a few trophies in it. Like that was what I wanted to do, was win some trophies, and yeah, it's gonna take way too much time to like do that and then play StarCraft.
Trying to focus at being really freaking good at multiple things in your life it feels near impossible sometimes, just like time commitment wise. But has chess kind of like influenced the way that you either think about, practice, like do whatever, or play StarCraft? Okay,
so dealing with pressure and playing in like a public area is kind of what it's helped me do, because I play better under pressure. So like in the Breaking Out tournament, I played better because I had that pressure placed upon me. Like I was perfectly fine playing. Like I was nervous, but I was like, boom, like I could do it. And chess, a lot of times, like I'd come down to only having a minute on my clock, and I would win. But it'd be like I'd have to do like 20 moves in a matter of like 1 minute, or I'd lose the game. So like that type of practice really helped out a lot. But in terms of like training and stuff, I was a slacker when it came to chess. Like I practiced a lot in my middle school I was really good. I practiced all the time.
Mhm.
High school I practiced some, but as I got older, I skipped more and more practice to go hang out with friends. So I can't really apply that to StarCraft. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on IVD. Like it'd be really bad. And in the time span that I did it, I poured a lot of hours into StarCraft right away. So yeah, I don't think I'd be here if I took the training regimen from chess.
So let's talk a little bit about your TVT, and I want to hear more about just Terran versus Terran. How you feel about it? You're already saying that you're an aggressive player.
But yeah, so I mean, all my TVTs, I almost never take an early expansion, just because I think it's weaker. Like I can do it, it's just I don't enjoy doing it because I feel like the follow up cast first could kill me, and it would just be like it'd make me frustrated. I can do Banshees off stream. I can do. The reason I say that is because on stream there's lag, so it's like I can't do Banshee builds when people are watching. Mine drops, Hellion drops, those are a lot of fun. And I used to do 2x Reaper, but not so much anymore. But so that'd be pretty fun. I like the positioning of tanks too. Like I like having siege tanks kill a bunch of units. You know, siege up on the natural and kill a bunch of stuff there. It's a lot of fun, and just it feels like out of all the matchups, it's more like a chess game because you can't just, except for the Doom drop, you can really like put units here, and then you start moving units. Yeah, it's more like methodical.
I'm not gonna lie, TVT is one of those matchups that, especially with North Americans, like you just don't see very often. We've already kind of talked a lot about like the status of Terran in general, like in North American, heck, even in Europe if you're not Bunny, right? So like, what's going on in TVT right now?
It kind of varies. I played against Bunny at Detroit in group stages, and you can kind of see a clash in styles. I think he opened up early expansion each time. I don't know if I didn't actually look and see if he opened up 15 gas, but he opened up with an earlier expansion and just played defensively, whereas I opened up aggressively. And there were opportunities where I could win, but his defense is much better than mine and his mechanics as well. So I feel like it kind of depends on the player. Like I've watched a lot of TVTs of late, like Innovation, for instance. On big maps, he'll do an 11-11 Marine SUV pull, which is completely like, I think that can actually be kind of meta-y. Like that's pretty cool stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more players in best of series in TVT to do that. It's risky, but it worked. Like he won like 2 or 3 games against APOC in the Destiny Invitational doing it. Like it was sick. And other than that, like Gas First is extremely popular. You'll see Pult, MMA, Teja. It's so versatile, and it's so likely to do damage that I feel like that's going to be a staple. So that's always going to be around. And then you always see like an expansion build where they defend the Gas First and then they just crush their opponent because they have that lead. Most players either go between mech and bio, and I think bio is more forgiving, so you're going to see that. You always see that more frequently, but mech is still really strong. It's one of those things where if you're ahead and you go mech, I feel like it's even stronger. Whereas if you're even or behind, in the hands of a right player, a bio player could outmaneuver, outmuscle the mech player, ultimately out macro. So that's kind of like where you kind of see where different players lie.
TVT is actually one of those matches that's really cool in that sense because you kind of get to showcase like what you as a player really enjoy doing. Like you have so much versatility, and it's like you really kind of get to, in a sense, express yourself through it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really interested to see how you kind of express yourself. I think I have a general idea of what you're interested in, but we're gonna go ahead and jump into the ZVT. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back.
It's game time! Terran versus Terran.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the Terran versus Terran. I'm here once again with Zombie Grub. Zombie Grub, how you doing?
What's up? I'm not infamous anymore.
You're not infamous. You're gonna gradually go from infamous to just, I'm not gonna address you with anything, and then you're gonna go to famous, and then I don't know where we're gonna go with the 4th game. We're gonna go somewhere. But guys, we're loading up in here to the Terran versus Terran as we spawn on top of the red Terran player representing Team IvD Gaming, and the highlight player of the week. It is Zan.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, it's Dust Schnitzel.
Alright, now Zombie Grub, I was just telling you this before. I don't actually understand Terran versus Terran. It is perplexing to me. All that I know is that Doom drops are really scary in this matchup, and it's very important to position your army in the right place to not get Doom drops. So what is kind of your thoughts on Terran versus Terran?
Yeah, well, everyone always has known, because I mean, Cass have always said that Terran versus Terran is a positional game, and that's still true. Just maybe not as we once would have seen it. It used to be, you know, it was the real life chess, it was the real time chess. You know, it was all about like tank positioning and getting the Marines, you know, on the concave versus like that type of stuff. Now it is more like, you know, you're going to be very aggressive in the beginning because like the one base opener is just very, very popular.
Yeah.
They've always have been, but I'm talking like the drops now. You know, the Raven and a 2-tank drop, or just the Hellion drop with the Marines. Those are very popular. If those don't kill you, you go into the mid-late game, and then it's just like, do you have the better position to doom drop your opponent? Like, how lucky were you with the map spawns?
Oh man.
So you do need to be in good position for that. So it is still a positional game. It's just, you know, it ends a lot faster, you know, whether it's because of the early game or because of those doom drops. It's not the 30 minutes, you know, TVT that we saw in like GSL 2011 or something.
Yeah, I really like the way that you phrase it, because it's basically like saying it's still a positional game, but back in the day it used to be like slowly positioning your siege tanks and like inching forward, but now it's like positional, and if you're out of position for a split second, the game ends like instantly.
Yeah, and of course the medevac boost really had a play in that, but even then, like, you know, we had that initial month or two where it was like, oh my, like everyone boosting everywhere, like don't even know what's going on.
Oh god, the Hellbat drops on top of like
exactly, like Hellbat drops too, right? Like the Flash game and MLG, I figured it was against like Innovation maybe, or MVP, I can't remember, but like that was just like everywhere, drops everywhere, and that's certainly still true. Like medevac boost definitely did help the whole like, this is like a lot about doom drops, but it's just really how like aggressive this opener is. Like this TVT has gotten. It's I mean, how popular the drops have gotten are just like, because you know it used to be just about the Banshees. Okay, this person's gonna open a Banshee, this person's up with Ravens, and we're gonna kind of go into the next game, and then, well, now it's just like, well, this person's gonna try and end it for 8 minutes. Let's see if he can do it. Okay, he did. Okay, GG.
Well, you know, all that kind of being said and done, let's talk a little bit about Zan then. Zan, we saw in the Terran vs. Zerg that he likes to be really aggressive. He's an aggressive player, and that's kind of the way that he has fun with the game. This seems kind of like it would be the matchup that he would enjoy, and I know he did say that, you know, as kind of we were talking about, like doom drops are a huge part of this game. Yeah,
I certainly would hope so. Yeah, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago he wouldn't say the same thing, but for now, for certain, he should be on it. And he does have, I mean, these are okay positions for both players to drop, really. You know, Zan has a direct line into what would have been the dead space of Schnitzel had he not had his units over there, and that's why he has his units over there. But you know, Schnitzel, there's no Zelnog on this map, so Schnitzel can still kind of get around and go to Zan's dead space on his base as well. So not really any, like, you know, on Nimbus it's really obvious who got the better spawn for dropping that natural, but Catalina is kind of, it's all right for everyone.
All right, well, we do actually have a Raven coming out over here for Zan, whereas it looks like Schnitzel going to be going for the Banshee, and I mean, just automatically through logic, I kind of feel like this obviously favors. Yeah, it seems like it favors Zan just a little bit, because, you know, he gets out the Raven for the protection and everything, and of course Schnitzel going to be investing in the cloaking technology and everything, getting out the Banshee, and theoretically shouldn't be able to make too much work with it.
Yeah, I mean, once upon a time it was almost called like a hard counter if you got a Raven Viking combo versus a Banshee opener, but people find uses for Banshees no matter what, you know, and Schnitzel's not even really going into it that hard. Yeah, you get Cloak, but Cloak is a lot cheaper than it once was, so he only gets one Banshee, and he'll be able to like pick off Marines, maybe damage a tank, little stuff that makes it worth it.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see how much damage this Banshee can actually do. One of my favorite things is when a Terran player keeps that Banshee alive and we start seeing it just harassing tanks and all this other kind of stuff 20 minutes into the game, and the other player's just like, why do you still have this?
Oh yeah, we've seen a lot of heroic Banshees in this matchup for sure. Also, it's, well, I guess there's no point in cloaking. The Raven's right on you, right? So he just tries to get as many SCVs as possible.
That's a decent number. 8 or 7 SCVs, I think, killed by the Banshee.
Well, that was certainly worth it then, and he only got the one. Surprisingly, getting another one. I mean, I know the first Banshee did a lot of damage, but it is still a Raven Viking opener, so I'm not sure about the second one.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, but you know, Zan, he has not actually thrown down a natural expansion just quite yet, so this does make me think, I mean, this is gonna
he's going. Yeah, he's gonna go for the double tank drop that has become so popular. You know, you load up the 2 tanks, you load up the Marines. Your Raven covers your drop with auto turrets that add just so much, and it's a
man.
very hard defense. Honestly, it's you know, people kind of calling it a cheese. You know, something that's almost always guaranteed to win. It's really not quite like that, but it's pretty strong.
Yeah, and here's the thing, this map, I especially like it just because of how big the base is. I mean, there's so much area where it's hard to actually cover, even as like a Terran player, trying to defend your base against all the kind of different places that your opponent can actually drop into. But look at this, Schnitzel's actually sieging up inside of his main base and taking his natural expansion. Is he anticipating this? Has
Yeah,
he, like,
for
seen
sure.
something for this?
Well, he saw the Raven opener, which, I mean, again, it is so popular that you can kind of just guess off of that. And I think he also saw that the starport was producing without anything on it, so we knew that medevacs were coming as well. Unfortunately, just a little bit out of position. Like, this is why it's so annoying. You can find this, like, little bit over here.
Oh, actually, a really sick move. We have a Hunter Seeker missile going down. And unsiege and picks up his siege tank into the medevac. Really well done over there by Zan. Now the SCVs are going to just retreat over to the natural expansion, so for Schnitzel, so he is going to keep those alive. But at the same time, Banshee in the main base of Zan, trying to do some damage. Scan goes down, but he doesn't get the Banshee.
Oh, where is that? I thought he had a Raven. Or, I mean, a Viking, rather. Did it die?
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
it.
I'm not sure where it... I guess in the drop, maybe it was the one that got hit by the Widowmine or something. No, actually, Widowmine has no kills. Not sure, but it's not here now. And, I mean, obviously, that would have been a little more helpful to deal with the Banshee.
Yeah, but, I mean, Zan's slowly just kind of denying mining from this main base, and he's going to eventually be able to pick away at this this main base command center. Something has to be done about that at some point, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to lift it. You just can't, like, you know... Like,
Oh,
I left
siege
it. No
tanks!
big deal.
She's taking out actually all the Widowmines in one shot. Snell, looks like Schnitzel should be able to clean this up.
Yeah, he didn't lose too much army, but it was all of the mining time up to that was really a big deal. Like, I mean, and then you still have the medevacs too, so like Zan just like picks up and goes somewhere else.
Oh my god. He's gonna be able to kill off. Oh, the Raven!
Ah, it's so expensive.
Very expensive loss. And there's no anti-air left over. All the Marines have been cleaned up. So yeah, he just picks up and goes. Oh my god, he was dropping the Marines on top of the SCVs. The siege splash damage was killing them.
Oh, sick move, Zan. You know, Zan can like talk about like, you know, he can be like, oh, I'm like my macro's not that good, and like blah blah blah. But just know that you're like Boxer, all right? And that's the highest compliment you can get. Boxer is all about the micro and the cool tricks. And yeah, his macro isn't that good sometimes, but it's cool. So that's what's really important.
Yeah, exactly. It's the fact that, okay, all things considered, yeah, he got his natural expansion in the command center like much later and everything, but at the end of the day, like he's done enough damage through little cool micro techniques that he has a higher SCV count. He also has a tied number of bases and everything, and he still actually has like an army that he can go continue to put pressure on with. Like, I really just like the style, and he just really plays to his strength.
Yeah. Here's one problem that Zan does have for sure, though. Doesn't have Stim. Not even researching right now. He is going to double it up by going Combat Shields and Stim at the same time, but usually you would see this a lot sooner. So, I mean, it's seriously really far behind. However, Schnitzel, with the amount of Marines that he lost and how much he just could not, you know, be producing up until now, Zan could just... I can't believe he's dropping.
Drop part 2.
Yeah, apparently. And Schnitzel is dropping himself. He should have enough back at home to deal with this. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, looks like Zan's gonna get cleaned up over here. Unfortunately, siege tanks also go down. God, that command center is actually burning down. Schnitzel, you need to repair that, man. I know that you're dropping over here, but you gotta repair your command center.
Oh, and auto turret also at the natural. I was wondering what that was. There was a couple of SV damage, but yeah, nothing to defend at Zan's home. Doesn't have to pull the SCVs. Oh, missiles are getting rid of the medevac. Super helpful.
Yeah, medevac has to stay a little bit further away. Oh, God, it almost went back into the medevac range, but SCV is going down over here for Zan. He's trying to pull them just to try and buy himself a little bit of time, but the drop is going to get out of there. It's A-okay for Schnitzel.
Oh my god. Look how many SCVs Schnitzel has now, though. 22? 25 SCVs versus 24 SCVs, but I guess Zan is the one that's... I don't know how that math worked out, but Zan's still ahead, so...
I don't exactly know how this like keeps working out, where Zan is just doing a bunch of damage, and sometimes he takes a lot of damage, but They always just seem to be even in worker counts.
Schnitzel just like put everything into the army, which is not a bad strategy. He's going in right now with a very, very strong army, and Zan not prepared for this. Lets the bunker go down. No Siegechang's in position. Can he hold? No stim again.
No stim. He also has a much lower worker count, a marine count, and also has a relatively even number of siege tanks. This is going to be a very, very scary situation for Zan right now.
Oh, but he's still like his Raven. His Raven's completely denying the natural mining, but Schnitzel with only 21 SCVs can just he's only off mining really off one base to begin with, anyways.
Oh my god, that Raven has 17 kills, and I'm pretty sure all of them are worker kills.
Dang,
that's amazing. Man.
Yeah, and Schnitzel can't push forward. It's great that he's containing him on two bases, or on one base rather. But Schnitzel, you're on one base too.
Yeah, exactly right.
So.
All right, well, the Marines are over there finally for Schnitzel. You can take out these auditors, even though he's going to end up losing a couple of the Marines in the process. But Zan, he's starting to move some of those Marines down to the low ground. Looks like he wants to try. He needs to at some point break out of this. I also like the fact that he's moving with a double drop on the right hand side of the map. Is he going to go for a surround, or is he just? Oh my God, Zan, are you just going to try and put on counter pressure, or are you actually going to try and break out with this?
I think he's just going to put on counter pressure. Schnitzel made the mistake of trying to push up too, lost a bunch of his units for it, and was not able to do any amount of damage to the SCV line either, I think. Zan's still at 33 SCVs. And now this drop is going to catch Schnitzel completely out of position. He's going for the follow-up attack.
Turret part 7.
Oh, come on.
And like I would criticize Schnitzel for saying like, why don't you have something to defend against his auditor? It's coming. He's constantly has to have his units in one location or another. Like he just doesn't have the units to spare. He doesn't have the economy to make them either.
If this was a TVP and like DTs were attacking our he would have just like pulled the boys by now. I think he just should. I really think he should.
Oh my god. Well, he's gonna try and do what he can, but he's on this ramp. He's taking a lot of splash damage from this single siege tank of Zan. Zan's gonna hold, and GG gets called. He's gonna end up taking the game in. Oh my god, that was actually a really fun game.
Yeah. It wasn't the one Doom drop. It was just multiple
Yeah,
drops.
exactly, right? And this is actually why I really enjoy watching Zan, because you very rarely will get a very boring game with him. Like, even in games where he may even end up losing, I think, he's gonna make it look really, really difficult. He's gonna really, really try your patience and make you work for that win, because he's going to be harassing you from every other different angle. But really well done from that. And guys, we're going to be finishing up with the TVT. We're going to be jumping into the analysis segment, and once again, the analysis segment is going to be with a different replay, so we apologize for that. Hopefully you guys will still enjoy it and learn a thing or two about maybe a different game where Zan plays TVT. So we'll see you guys there. Hey everyone, welcome to the TVT. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We're going to the analysis segment here with Zan. Now Zan, tell us, what were your thoughts about that game we just saw?
Basically, it was game 2 against Elheim in the Breaking Out Invitational, which was it was the first round, and I had just lost the first game. So in this game, I mean, I needed to win, obviously, to even have a chance to get to the third game and then a chance to stay in the tournament. So there was a lot riding on this, and I kind of brought my favorite build. Just because I chose the map, so I brought my favorite build for the map.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. Let's go ahead and jump into the game, and why don't you go ahead and talk about like what was actually going on in this game then?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what I'm thinking in this game, my strategy is essentially one Raven, 2 Vikings, 2 tanks, and a group of Marines to go and pressure the natural. You can see here. We'll pause the map here just real quick in case you're new to StarCraft or you haven't really abused this yet. Basically, you can actually have tanks right next to this destructible rock or a little bit higher up. And basically, your siege tanks can actually siege and hit the mineral lines. So if your opponent goes for a macro-oriented build or anything like that, or even just standard play, it's a really good position for you to not only do damage, but also pause his economy, make him have to do crisis control. Just an all-around really strong build for this map. So that's basically my game plan for this one. And Elheim, you'll see in a little bit, he chooses to go for a more macro-oriented build, and you'll see that he is kind of prepared for this type of push. He's obviously faced it before on ladder at some point or another. However, I take a bit of a risk, and you'll see it kind of pay off, which is extremely good for me. But basically what we're seeing here is just the standard build. It's a 1-1-1 for me. Gas first, You get a Marine, you get your factory, kind of basic stuff. It's pretty versatile. You can kind of do a lot of different things here. You get your second gas before the factory's done. Nothing too crazy. Basically, if you've done a Banshee build, you pretty much know how to do this build. You just get a Raven instead of Banshee before.
Yeah, and can you actually talk a little bit about maybe the Banshee builds and kind of where they factor in with all the other kinds of builds that we end up seeing in TVT these days? Because we end up seeing like Elhaim, he goes for the faster command center overuse. So how much damage do you feel like you have to get done in order to kind of balance out the fact that your CC is much more delayed than his?
So with most like gas first builds, it's basically it's on you to do damage right away. So you always want to do some type of damage, whether it's to SCVs or positional control. So if you there's a lot of different gas first builds. For instance, there's Marine Hellion drop, or Marine Mine drop, kind of different things like that, which kind of focus more on getting towards the SCVs. But this build's more of a positional kind of. I'm in your phase. You can't really do anything about it. I'm delaying your expansion. So. Basically, with this build, why it's unique is that the Raven defends against the Banshee, whereas Banshee first, Banshee with Cloak is pretty common. It's strong. It goes for, it can deal damage to the natural, the main, kill SCVs. It can do a lot of different things. But with the Raven, it kind of counters that, and you get the Vikings behind it and all this. So it's kind of a soft counter to a Banshee build. It's weak against other different types of gas first builds, but it's also kind of strong against what build he's going for. If I get the good position, if not, he's actually really far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So with that in mind, the reason why you'd want to go for the Raven first is if you want to defend a Banshee and then kind of apply pressure later on. There's also a variation, which I'm not going to talk about in this game just because I might bring it out later in the actual matches, but there's different variations you can do.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta keep one of my builds somewhat secret.
I'm looking forward to that one, man.
But yeah, so anyways, Elhaim's build is really strong in that if he were to defend effectively, he's actually really far ahead. And I've played games where my opponents were able to defend my aggression really easily and put me on the back foot. So it's one of those things where you can defend it if you're the player who's playing more macro oriented. It's not a build that you can always do and it's like, oh hey, I win because I did this. It's more like, hey, I got a better position, or hey, I was able to make the right decisions right here and paid off. So it's kind of like a 50-50, maybe 55-45 in my favor against this build. It's pretty close. Yeah, it's strong.
So is this build also something that is really just a let's do this because it's King Sejong Station kind of thing because of those destructible rocks?
Yes, exactly. Precisely. Mainly the cliff is the biggest part. The destructible rocks is a nice kind of bonus there, but really it's just positioning that you can get from there that'll hit his natural. That makes it so pristine. And then one thing to talk about too, players might be asking themselves, why'd you place your CC on the low ground, or what's kind of the thought process behind that? And it is susceptible to like early attacks and stuff. I kind of lucked out because he went for a safer build, but by putting your CC on the low ground, it is greedier, but you can see I'm already mining a lot quicker. A lot of things are already going well for me. So worst case scenario, if this push doesn't work, I'm still kind of, my macros going really well. Other times you might see players want to put their CC into the high ground, which is perfectly acceptable. If you think your opponent's going to be attacking early on or anything like that, and you really don't want that to get delayed, it's perfectly fine to put on the high ground. But knowing my opponent, knowing the position I was in, and kind of having an idea of what build. Actually, I didn't scout, but I know Elhaim. Like I'm kind of metaing him. Like I know he plays kind of more macro oriented, so I didn't scout because I figured he would do a build like this. So I tried to save as much money as possible to get the most out of my build, which also allowed me to be greedy. So yeah.
All right, cool.
So you can see that the push is moving towards his natural. So you want to try and poke. Usually you want to poke right here. You poke early on. You want to see kind of what you're dealing with. I also burn off a scan so I can see exactly what his units he has. You can see Siege Tank's already attacking me, but his other units are out of position. So right now all I have to do, get rid of those Vikings, get rid of that Siege Tank, and I have the position.
Right.
So we can see I'm attacking his tank right away. He tries to get away. The Vikings are dead. I get the siege position going. I have vision of his tank. It's pretty close. I throw it on the auto turret to hopefully kill the tank, and luckily it does go down. So now I've got that position I've been trying to get this entire time, which is having that siege range hit the mineral line or hit the gas, and then just just kind of go from here. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have this type of position, you might ask yourself, hey, what am I going to do from here? Like, that's good and all, but how am I going to win the game? So you can see kind of back at home right now, you can see somebody throwing up 2 more Raxes, getting tank, more Vikings, getting more units, getting more SCVs, macroing. So really, this attack isn't going to win me the game, but it's going to put me in a position to where I can win the game. So you can see he's not really mining very well. My auto turret's still doing some damage. Like, he's losing SCVs. He has to worry about this. This is a lot of stuff for him to worry about. And for me, not a big deal. I don't even have to look at my units attacking his CC. I could literally go back home, macro up, and then come back and make sure like everything's still alive. That's all I really have to do.
Yeah, I was actually almost gonna ask, like, were you concerned about, you know, counterattacks, kind of like what Elhaim's doing over here, but you do also have like those siege tanks that are already back at home. It looks like you're already kind of preparing for some kind of big counter swing.
Yeah, so the big thing I realized was that once I have this position, you know, what can my opponent do to get back at me? And one of those things is to attack, you know, counterattack, whether it's through drop ships or through, you know, some other means. And I figured, since I had seen Vikings, you know, I figured he'd probably go more Viking production. He wouldn't have any medevacs out. So I figured one way he could attack would be through the front. So just to be safe, siege tank, Marines, not a big deal. And then, you know, have some units at home in case he does do a drop, and then I'll relocate to my main.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, at this point, I mean, you basically effectively shut down the natural expansion entirely. What are you thinking at this point? Like, just try and secure the lead that you already have gained for yourself?
Yeah. So at this point of the game, when I see that his, you know, natural move and everything, right now I'm thinking, you know, how can I get further ahead? And one of the ways I'm doing this is not only getting my 3rd base at this point, but it's also getting my upgrades. So I have 1-1 on the way, and I have my 3rd on the way. So I have a lot of stuff that's going to get me further ahead. So really all I'm thinking about right now is I just have to survive until stim, my upgrades are done, and I secure that 3rd. Like, once those all kind of get together, I should be in a position to win the game. I haven't won yet because, you know, he's relocating his natural, but I'm in a position where if I play smart, I should be able to win.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so basically once you lose that position, you know, you can't hold it. Just take all your stuff and go home. I may have stayed there a bit longer than I should have, but it's not too bad since I was able to keep the Vikings and the Raven alive with the Marines. And then we do see the counterattack from Elhaim. He realizes he's pretty far behind, so he's throwing up his 3rd behind this, getting under the map and just trying to kind of assess the situation, which is fine. I mean, he's just on the map, just trying to scout around, make sure that I'm not trying to he's not allowing me to get too much control of the map. You can see he moves back because he's afraid of what I could do, and I'm sitting back too because I'm ahead. I have no big reason to throw it away just to do a huge drop yet. So I'm just basically playing safe from here on out. And then you'll see I'm taking my 3rd, getting my upgrades, armory's going down. So all pretty standard stuff, nothing too crazy right now. I am trying to get back into that position that I had before. We see that I can't get it. And then he also does a drop in my main, but I'm kind of ready for it. It gets shut down. So when he did that drop, since it didn't do any damage and he's already behind, that puts me further ahead. So if it was even, I'd be ahead. But since I was a little bit ahead, I'm even further ahead. So it's like it really works against him.
Yeah, and I also noticed like you have a fairly large number of missile turrets over here in your main base, just like 4 missile turrets, almost just in anticipation of maybe like not even just like a regular drop, but I want to say like a doom drop, because I know that's something that's very, very common in TVT that can just completely turn the tide of the game.
Yeah, so when you get into a position where you feel like you're ahead of your opponent, you're always asking yourself, what can he do to get back in the game? And usually in TVT, you'll see a lot of players doing this, but one of the ways they can come back is through either a big doom drop or even through like smaller drops. And by having at least 3 turrets, because I have them on the outer ring, at least 3. Sometimes you'll see players put up 5, 6, 7. I mean, they go crazy amounts, but that's one way that he could come back in the game that I really can't afford. And so yeah, it's one of those things. I have the extra money. You can see he doesn't really have anything, so I could potentially abuse that factor there, because he's trying to cut as many corners as he can to get back into the game. So that's why you can see his army kind of, if you look at the army value, he's not as far behind as you'd think, and his worker supply is actually really strong. So you can kind of see that. Even through his build, even though it wasn't the best, by having that macro oriented, you know, you can see he's still evened out. But, yes. Basically, he's cutting corners to stay in the game. So as what I'm doing here, which is it's smart for me because I actually neglected to do this in a long time. Was I'm attacking two different angles. So it's kind of like a Polt style. You'll see Polt doing this types of stuff, but
Hmm.
two medevacs full of Marines down at the bottom left to attack the third, and then I'm gonna pressure over here because I know that he won't, he can't let me get into a position where I can siege up either here or as I was before next to those rocks. So he's gonna have to commit likely his whole army. So using that opportunity, I can attack the third. So that's kind of my game plan at this point,
Hmm.
and I have the units to kind of provide that. I lose my Raven carelessly, but it's still like okay, I still have this really good position right now, and
Right.
yeah, and I also have the upgrade advantage in terms of armor. So I attack the third right now. I run in, and it was really quick there. It was really
Hmm.
quick, but I ran in, and I was able to snipe the CC and kind of run away with all my units.
Yeah.
We can. I'll go back to that one more time.
Oh,
Just kind of.
yeah. I think I
Oh, I
actually
wasn't
just
sure.
caught it, but yeah, no worries.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna run back to it real quick, just
Oh,
to
yeah.
show kind of the pressure of just having your units on one side. You can see his units
Right.
are all by the destructible rocks. I run in, I scan beforehand, run in. The CC's low on health. Boom, snipe it. Go. So if you're looking for a way to abuse your opponent, this is a great way of being able to do that. To basically take his focus away.
Yeah, and I know it's also, of course, like you immediately retreat with the rest of your army because I'm at that point you've done the damage, right? You don't need to stay over there and overcommit and get your army kind of overrun.
Exactly. So I'm thinking I'll go back home, regroup with more stuff, go attack again, or maybe potentially regroup with my drop. I do leave my
Hmm.
drop down there because it's still in a really strong position.
Hmm.
But I'm constantly scanning just to see where his army is. But once I can get everything back home, I feel more comfortable that way.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he has to restart his third. So he's still like he's going closer and closer towards having to go all in. Um, I know his army's out of position because I can see it from the Zelnaga, so I stim right back in again. I kill the siege tank, and I'm still delaying, so I'm even doing more damage killing SCVs, delaying that. So it forces him to make a decision. He needs to attack me right now, whether he likes it or not. So he's going up towards my third, and I siege and I attack into it because I don't want him to get that good position. So I kill those tanks off, and then I just kind of have to survive at this point. All I'm thinking about right now is I just have to survive. So I have a pretty sizable army in my natural. His guys have been stemmed a lot. I'm just sitting there attacking, just killing Marines because they don't really have enough medevacs. Kill the tanks off, and basically at this point it's kind of when the game's over because he didn't really kill. He killed some SCVs, but really it wasn't enough to cripple me. And I still have that. I still have a sizable army at his third that's still kind of trickling away at the supply depots, and
Right.
the presence is still on the map. But at this point, we can kind of skim through. We'll see that there's not much he can do. We can see from the supplies, like I'm in such a good spot
Yeah.
that really, he's just like, oh crap, I wanna I wanna win the game here. I don't want to have to go to a third game, and I'm just like, oh crap, I'm gonna win. Just play smart again, and we'll be good. So I just group up, take my whole army to his to the side over here. Kind of a bad engagement, but it's okay because that's his entire army. So yeah, that wraps things up there.
All right, cool. Well, did you actually have any other final thoughts before we move on to the next segment?
Nope, I don't think not at all. Nope.
I think that's actually totally fair. You did a pretty good job of summarizing everything, so thank you so much for that. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're going to be going back to the interview. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Fear Dragon, and once again joined here by Zan. Zan, let's talk about the beautiful little logo that's sitting by your name on the overlay. It is the IvD logo, man. IvD Gaming, a fantastic team, actually won the Deimos Esports Team League recently. I know the ETL no longer around, but pretty damn good. One of the best North American-based teams, and you recently joined it. How do you feel about that, man?
I feel really good. It's a fantastic team, and I've only heard good things about it from a lot of the players on the team that I've talked about, and they have a positive image in the scene. I mean, you can't get much better than that.
What exactly is it about IvD Gaming that sort of attracted you? Is it just practice partners? Is it a salary? Is it, connections, flights like that are being paid for? Like, what exactly is it about IvD that's so appealing to you?
I guess it's kind of like just like all of the above, really. Like they have some resources to further send you places, or skill wise and stuff like that. Like they have really good players. Like to give an idea of like how good the players on the team are, I would consider myself the worst person on the team. So I mean, I have nowhere else to go but up. But everyone on the team is so strong and they're so good at the game that it's really easy to kind of just like get overshadowed. Basically, like I said, I feel like I'm the worst person. So it's like it's really good for me. A lot of training. The manager is really good. I've said this. I said this to the manager, and I definitely believe it.
You're
But
talking
I was
about
on-
Dine?
Yeah, Dine. I was
Oh
talking about
yeah.
Dine. Yeah, I should. Yeah. So I was talking about.
Shout
I
out
was
to
talking-
Dine. He's awesome. So
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly. He's an awesome guy, and he's the first manager that I've met in esports that I felt that I couldn't do a better job. Basically, like I've had too many managers that are incompetent and have no idea what they're doing, and they shouldn't be in this scene. Like, no reason. Like they're just incapable. But Dine is passionate. He cares about the game. He's always up to date, and he would pretty much do anything for a player to get them where they need to go, what they need. Like he's an awesome guy. Fantastic. Works really hard.
I have talked to so many players, and it astounds me. It just perplexes me sometimes when I hear players talk about, oh yeah, team practice. We don't really do that. Like we do it, like we did it for a little bit when the team started, or when I joined the team, and now we don't really do it anymore. Is that something that is fairly consistent at IvD? Do you feel like you have a good opportunity to practice with a lot of players there?
If I ask for it, yeah, I'll get the practice I need.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things where it's not structured practice. It's really just, hey, I need help TVZ. Like, Fog,
Mhm.
can I play against you? Or, no regret. I'm having problems here. So sometimes it's better just to go to the ladder,
Yeah.
play, come back, and then just talk theory craft. Hey, hey, Intense, I have no idea what to do in TVT or whatever. Can you give me some ideas, advice? We'll play some games.
Your teammate Intense, who you just mentioned, and actually he's qualified for breaking out as well. So congratulations, IvD Gaming. Apparently the team that's where all the Terrans are in North America, right? So I mean, like, how do you feel about Intense? I don't
Good.
obviously don't want you to be like, well, I hate that douche, but like, don't obviously
I
be
do
like
hate
that.
that dude. No. I think he's better than me, but I can beat him, type of thing. Like it's the same with Elhaim, except I think he's better than Elhaim by a bit. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much better he is than me. I think he's, and TVT I think is a strong suit too. So it'll be tough games, but I don't know. I have the confidence where I know I can beat any player. As long as I'm not a Kesper pro, I should be able to beat any player that I play against.
Do you feel like you have any rivals in the scene, either friendly or maybe less friendly, even? Yeah, like, what do you think actually has been in esports your biggest result so far?
Probably qualifying for this. Well, I would say qualifying for IvD Gaming, like getting on their team was humongous for me, and like the pro team too. It's not like I'm joining and I'm handling the website or anything, or I'm on the community team. Like I'm on the actual team, so that was probably the biggest thing for me. But in terms of tournament results, I would say this is probably the biggest one.
Wow,
So many players haven't qualified, so
yeah,
it's hard.
Well, that actually means a lot to me, so thank you for that one. What do you feel has stopped you from getting other big results at maybe other events or online tournaments or whatever that you've participated in?
I'm bad. I'm just bad. I mean, I lose to a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where the more I play, the better I get, and hopefully more results will follow.
So you feel like it's just you haven't had enough time to really play enough to get to that point that you feel like you can get to?
Yeah, I like beating nerds. That's why I keep playing. Like, it's one of those things that I love the competition. And
so you were the bully in elementary school, beating up nerds.
I was, you know what? Okay, everyone bullied in high school, so that's almost irrelevant. Everyone bullied at one point or another. I feel like, obviously that could be whatever. But in elementary school, I was actually like really nice. I was like the guy who's against bullying and like no swearing. Like I didn't swear until like middle school. So. Fun fact, completely
Didn't
irrelevant.
Swear
fun
until
fact.
middle school. Oh man.
But yeah, for me, like I don't like to just be good at something. Like I want to be the best at it, and I don't want to just like be like, oh hey, I was pretty good at StarCraft. Let me just start doing a bunch of content. Like I want to get better, so I make my content to kind of help me get better. It's like another way of practicing, and I wouldn't be content with like stopping where I'm at. Like I want to get to top 16 GM. I want to be able to actually take games off of good people, and then once I get to that point, it would be another thing where like, do I keep going, do I keep continuing, or do I focus on a different avenue?
So I hear that you have a YouTube channel that you used to update with a lot of videos. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel. It's Zan StarCraft. If you YouTube it, you'll find it right away. Basically, it's centered around Terran-focused content. So it's all about build orders, replay analysis, whether it's from pros or from just like gold leaguers. Like it's all over the place. The last thing I started was my Bronze to Masters series, which I started over a month ago, and I was working on it, and then I just kind of stopped because I didn't really have the time to focus on it. Because as I was making it, that's when I started going into talks with IvD and Red Bull and MLG. Like all these things were kind of going on, and I was kind of like I wanted to practice more. I wanted to do more of that, and there was just a lot of things kind of going on, and so I kind of put it on the back burner for now. I'll probably get around to it more when I'm actually more busy. So when school rolls around, I'll probably actually start making content again on the weekend or, during the week. But as of right now, yeah, I mean, if you're like an aspiring Terran player, go check it out because all the information on there is good stuff because it's what helped me get better and I cut out the BS. Like a lot of players, one of the biggest problems with a lot of people is they're really good, but they don't know how to teach people how to be good. And I feel like I'm really good at that because I'm constantly looking at ways to break things down for me. Like I always have to go through the basics. I always have to go through that general rhetoric, like why do I take my third, or why do you make this unit composition and stuff like that. So it's good stuff.
The content is awesome. It sounds like it's actually really quality content, and I highly recommend that people go check it out. But it does sound like it is a time-consuming activity. It takes away from things like your practice.
It's like one of those things, like if you love something so much, you want to share it with the world. And I feel like the best way to share my love of StarCraft is with other Terran players who want to get better.
With that being said, let's talk a little bit more about the actual gameplay that we might be learning a bit more about. These Terran versus Protoss matchup actually is the last one that we have to talk about. And how do you feel about Terran versus Protoss? It sounds kind of like you're not actually feeling great about this matchup right now.
I used to hate it a lot more, but now I'm like okay with it. I actually don't like TVT as much because I'm really bad at it, but with TVP, I kind of understand it. Basically, it just comes down to doing damage, and if you can't do damage, do an SCV pull because late game is atrocious. And unless you're like really, really, really good, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just there's a lot of things going on, and it's really easy to kind of be overwhelmed. But
do you like to just really vary it up, or just generally just your idea is be as aggressive as possible and make sure that this doesn't get to the late game?
Yeah, I mean, I basically do it all now. I mean, I can do one base attacks, which are uncommon but still really strong. I've beaten a lot of players with them. Otherwise,
you're gonna have to go into detail about that one. One base all-ins, because I've got to tell you, man, or I should say one base attacks, because I've heard so many Terran players, every Terran player you ever hear complain about Protoss, they say there's no such thing as a one base all-in versus Protoss. Do you feel like that's true?
It has to be to an extent. Like you can't just do one base all. Like in TVT, you can do just one base all attacks. But with TVP, it's more like if you open gas first, it's got to be on a map where it's harder to scout, and you have to make sure that you are confident in your control and you know what you're doing. And it's really hard to do that because it's one of those things only works like 30 or 40% of the time. If you were to do it all the time on ladder, like it's no matter who you kind of like almost who you play. Whereas like two base attacks, are a lot easier to do. So I mean, Mind Drop, Hellion Drop, standard play. Like I basically do all that stuff, and then SCV pull if I want to. If not, I can play a late game, but not as common. So it's just a lot of builds I have in my arsenal for TVP.
Once again, if you had to identify one big strength and one big weakness in the matchup, what would those two things be?
My biggest strength is, this is kind of common with at least TVZ, is always being able to do damage or being able to take risks. And then my weakness would be just losing to like an all-in or something that just like takes me off guard. Kind of like my scouting or overreacting to something I scouted. For instance, making like 3 or 4 bunkers before he even engages in an attack. Like he moves his army onto the map like slightly, and I'm already reacting to it, and he just takes the third. That's one of my weaknesses. So
I'm interested to see how this TVP is gonna go that you have already submitted to us. So don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back.
It's game time! Terran versus Protoss.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Terran versus Protoss. I'm here joined by Zombie Grub once again, the famous Zombie Grub. How you doing today?
What's up? Famous now.
Now famous. We don't know where we're gonna go with the next one, so look forward to that. But we are also sitting on top of the Red Terran player, the highlight player of the week, representing Team IvD Gaming, and hopefully soon to be famous, Zan.
In the bottom position as the blue Protoss, it is Soul from UniVVV.
Yeah, UniVVV. I don't know if that's like University VVV Club. Have you ever heard of that game? V6 or like it's actually just this indie game, and they chose the most annoying name possible, so they named it VVV.
That sounds familiar. The whole annoying game title, but I don't remember it. I was thinking of the old StarCraft 2 clan. Well, I guess it wasn't specifically StarCraft 2.
Oh yeah, Team VVV.
Right, exactly. But like University, I don't know.
Maybe it's like, I don't know, Vampire University of Vancouver or something.
Oops. totally anime right there.
That is actually probably an anime somewhere.
It's somewhere.
Vampire
Somewhere
High
it is.
School?
Oh, for sure. I don't know what the name is, but it's gotta be.
All right.
We already have something a little interesting. You know, usually we don't. It's always like, nothing's happening at the beginning of the game. But Soul, I wouldn't call him SOL because of the capitalizations, but I was going with Soul.
I'm just gonna go with Soul. So.
Yeah, Soul. He's going for the Reaper block on this cool Sim City.
Oh yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it really?
Like
it can help. There's like those certain situations where they have 1 HP left, and it's the difference between like 1 hit and not hit. But
actually,
it's
okay. I within the past 10 seconds, I just said I really like that. I actually take it back. I really dislike this actually, because as a Protoss player, I've done this a lot. And the one thing that actually ends up happening a lot is you don't really think about it in the early game, but when you move into the later stages of the game, these wall-ins can actually cause huge problems if you're dealing with drops. Because you'll do something like warp in zealots on one side, and then the medevac just picks up all the units and moves it to the other side of the wall-in, and now suddenly half the army that you just warped in is now utterly useless.
You know what I love is when, like, this I'm okay with. Like you bring up a great point that sometimes does happen for sure. But I really hate is when they just, like, they figure all the pylons are back here anyways, so you build everything back here.
Oh,
and they build, like, a robo back here, and their Colossus get stuck because they can't walk over minerals. And you're just like, why can't they walk over minerals again?
Yeah, and not only that, like, that is the #1 place where you do drops, right? Like, you drop in the back of the mineral line, so when you drop a robo there, it's like, oh, okay, I retreat all the oh god, my tech is there.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Shit.
Exactly, yeah. Doesn't look to be Soul's plan. Looks like he was just purely going for the Reaper, block, potentially. The other Battalion did go in front, so not a big deal. But, we talked about Reapers. Oh, there it is. I was like, did he get one? Yeah, he did. Yeah. I was almost expecting Zan to go ahead and keep his guys in gas and go for, like, a really aggressive, factory push or something like that. But no, I just goes for the 3 racks.
Yeah, I know that Zan has created a consistency of showing aggression in the matchup, or in all of his matchups, I should say, so far. But TVP, one of the ones that he's maybe not feeling as comfortable with. I know a lot of Terran players are not. So we'll kind of see what he ends up doing. But Twilight Council actually going down over here for Soul. Now, Zombie Grub, I know I'm a Protoss player, and when I go for a Twilight Council, I immediately do it off of 1 gateway, and I go straight into a Templar Archives and just cross my fingers and hope that I'm not going to get all in. But I assume that Soul is not going to do that. He's not as terrible as I am. What kind of things can this lead into?
Well, the most popular thing that's going on right now is just the Twilight Council, 2 more gateways, then the Robo, then go up to Colossus. You have Blink, you scare the Terran a little bit because you have that little poke for yourself, and that looks to be what he's doing exactly. So 2 more gateways. You do try and put on a little bit of pressure to your opponent. You have a lot of Blink Stalkers that they might not expect if they try and push out at those odd times trying to get a force of an overcharge, and it scares them. Like everyone is still scared about the Blink all-in. So they see a Twilight Council with the Reaper, but they don't see how many gateways they go down. They're gonna be like, oh my god, bunkers everywhere, just freak out.
Especially on this map, like, there's so much area that you actually have to cover for Blink Stalkers on this map. Your main base is actually really wide. We kind of actually talked about this in the Terran versus Terran. Reaper gonna come back in over here though and seize the Twilight Council, seize the 2 gateways as well. Is that enough to really be super concerned and feel like you have to really commit to a defense?
I think he's fine. I think he knows this build by now. He's a pretty good player, so he's already caught up on that. And the fact that he didn't see any more gateways he knows it's not going to be an all-in. It's going to be a pressure.
Yeah. He actually also picks off one of the stalkers over there. Really, really nice pickoff. And now as he moves in over here, he's going to try and bait out a photon overcharge. Does get the photon overcharge, but he's just committed to try and do some damage over here. He hasn't killed any stalkers just yet, though.
Here's what I was talking about too. Like if they try and do this oddly timed push, they still force out the photon overcharge, but they don't get much else for it because you do have more units than if you're playing super greedy. So you know what's odd is that he did scout this, so maybe hoping to catch the blink stalkers being warped on the other side of the map. You know, because it is possible Soul put the pylon already over there, but in this case, you know, nothing was really done. Didn't even lose any stalkers. The counter pressure really is not that scary. He has a bunker, and that even without the bunker, he would have been fine. But it is a bit of a contain. You kind of call it, you know, Zan. When he pushes out, Soul will know.
Yeah, definitely. Now we do have the observer on the way. Of course, this is going to allow him to get that high ground vision. I assume that he's his militia corps is at home, right? Yeah, okay. His militia corps is at home, and that does mean he's not going to have an easy time getting that high ground vision. This is actually one of the things that you really do want the observer for, especially on a map like this, because if you at least have the observer, you can actually poke up and start poking away at the bunker. You eventually force SCVs to just repair it, even if you're not committing to it. You just kind of force responses out. But yeah, let's take a look at where Zan is actually sitting right now, because he's only just now getting up that starport, getting out the first medevac, and gonna be adding on a couple of barracks. But I'm kind of curious about this engineering bay. I don't know if this is like a mistake from Zan. He's had this engineering bay for a while. Hasn't really gotten any upgrades from it.
Probably he was paranoid of something coming down, like an
Oracle
or DTs.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, DTs would make sense because he saw the Twilight Council, right?
Yeah. Which again, it is a very popular opener to go for the blink. So, but it is always like, you know, should I really trust that? Probably not. So what I wanted to know was like, you know, you said his first medevac, and I was like, just one? yeah, just one. Unfortunately, his timing's a little messed up here because he was supply blocked, and it's a pretty important timing. You know, it's not really that big of a deal. It's coming out right now, and he does actually catch a lot of stalkers. So that's a big mistake from Soul.
Yeah, a really nice pickoff over there for Zan. He's gonna be feeling pretty good about that. Honestly, I feel like that should actually be enough for him to just push across the map now and maybe put on a little bit of pressure, make sure that his opponent isn't playing too greedy.
A Colossus is gonna pop out, you know, and he's actually going for double forges, which is pretty greedy, but he'll probably be okay with it for now. Problem is, again, Catalina, very good for dropping, very open spaces in the base, in the main base. Defending two locations is gonna be difficult.
Well, you know, I agree with you, Zombie Group, but let's go back to the fact that he only has one medevac. He's going to only be moving out with a small group of units, and he has to be so careful over here. He does not want to get caught out of position.
No, but Soul should not move out here. Like, the concave will work great for Zan. And he's even extended to a lance. That was a whole lot of no right there. But he loses a couple of zealots. Not that big of a deal, but it was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. The Colossus actually was really scary to me. I thought that maybe you could get a better engagement angle, but you're right. Like, he was moving out into a giant open area where the Marines and Marauders would just split up and just absolutely wreck that army.
Yeah. So, yeah, two medevacs. The other two medevacs that should have popped out too are back at home. Because now is when you start splitting up your army. As you can see, he leaves a lot of it just on the low ground. So that could be medevacs attacking the naturals, attacks the main too.
Yeah, he was just going to move in over here to the main base, not going to split up to do aggression on multiple fronts for now. It takes out the photon cannon and pushes out a photon overcharge. I don't think he's actually even lost any units over here, so pretty worthwhile so far. Yeah,
not yet. Just saying, right outside the photon overcharge, scans ahead, says, why aren't you defending this?
About the blink, it's going to be hard to actually retreat out over here. The medevac is so low on health.
I mean, he's really scared about losing his medevacs, but the ground army could have probably just taken a lot of the blink armies down with it, and that probably would have been worth it, honestly, because now's a point where Zan is the one, you know, he's on through CC right now, he's getting his Viking production finally. Yeah. Like, no blink stalkers, having to replace those. I mean, you know, it's arguable, I guess, whether it really would have been worth it, but obviously the choice he made, gets away with the army, gets away with the medevacs. And we'll come again later, I suppose. So we'll just throw down a Dark Shrine.
Yeah, Dark Shrine going down as well as that third expansion. Now, I do want to actually really quickly note also, just because, you know, it plays a big part, especially with the Colossus and everything. This is actually one of my favorite matchups in terms of upgrades. We actually have 2-2 on the way for Soul, whereas actually, if you take a look at Zan, he has +1 weapons finished up. +1 armor is only just now going up. He's actually going to be like a full 2 upgrades behind
Yeah.
That's going to be problematic when it goes into the later stages of the game, because this matchup is so unbelievably important for upgrades.
Yeah. I don't believe he saw the double forge. No, he did not see the double forge.
Oh.
So it's not that, like, if he's a double forge, you could try and ramp up the aggression hardcore and take advantage of the fact, but more so than you just want to know. You don't want to take an engagement that you think, okay, I can take this on, and suddenly the zealots are chewing through your army, and you click on them, and you're like, oh, because you have like 3/3 and I only have 1/1.
They actually don't die.
That's just not a feeling that you want. You want to be, very smart in how you take engagements. So that's kind of the only reason he wants to know. And he does have a very scary army right now. He's up by about 40 supply. He got the Dark Shrine as opposed to getting Storm, I think. Yeah. I mean, does he even have a Templar Archives?
I don't think so, no.
I feel this may or may not work out. Oh my god, he even saw it. Oh, it was a 6 scan. Wow.
And wow, okay, well, awesome. Now he knows that the Dark Shrine is actually out, so he can maybe prepare for that. He's actually throwing down 3 missile turrets, probably one in each mineral line, but there might be an engagement over here. This Colossus is actually super exposed to the Vikings on the cliff. Blinkstalker's covering him for a little bit, but this is still going to be an iffy engagement right now for both these players.
Cool hallucinations. Very cool idea.
Well, they actually aren't soaking up the hits just quite yet, but now actually they actually soak up quite a few hits from these Vikings. The Dark Templars are actually doing work. Oh my god, these Dark Templars with the +2 weapons are just massacring these units.
Yeah, it was very important to note that those upgrades barely just finished for both players, but of course Soul with the plus, with one opponent of his opponent, really benefited from that. But yeah, the Dark Templars just add so much. I mean, they're not quite like Immortals where they add in that just you don't really consider them as that much damage when you look at an army.
Yeah.
But they kind of are. They add in so much damage if you don't account for them.
They do 45 damage with +3 weapons. It's 50 damage when you get to +3 weapons. It's actually a little bit absurd. They actually do hit about as hard as an Immortal, except against everything. It's
really, really insane. And of course, you could argue, well, they're really, flimsy, so you just need one scan.
Right.
But, we like our mules as Terrans, so.
Right, and of course, in that engagement, if you don't actually scan, they just massacre you. It can be really problematic. So now we actually do see Zan starting to save. I don't know if this is intentional, but he is saving up a 1 scan, it looks like, on each one of his command centers, just maybe as a backup for the DPs and everything, especially when you're going for a drop.
So, I think so. He's almost at this drop really not doing a whole lot, I don't think. No, not really. He's almost at a perfect SCV count too, so he can kind of stop using his mules until he has to mule hammer the 4th, which he has not yet started building. But he's doing, he's keeping his opponent off the double splash. Again, Storm not in play yet. So, it's okay so far, but, he's going to have to start thinking about...
Marauder doing? Is a Marauder is walking alongside 5 Stalkers and a Colossus, walks all the way into the main base, just waltzes in.
A6, someone is going to Marauder, it's fine.
Well, drop goes down in the 3rd expansion. You're going to be dealing with the Photon Overcharge as well as a couple of Zealots, so shouldn't actually be doing too much damage. Nice focus fire going down from Soul on the Medevac. You're going to be able to take that out, but the double drop is still around at the bottom right-hand side of the map in that dead airspace. Could try and go back in over there, and oh man, these upgrades for Soul, it's going to be finishing up +3 weapons. He's going to have +3 armor on the way as well. I'm really worried for Zan right now.
Soul still doesn't really have that big of an army. Obviously still down by 20 supply. The drops are still doing damage here and there. They're keeping him from, I feel, remembering that maybe you should get Storm. I mean, again, a double upgrade with the army with a lot of Colossus is still a very powerful army. But he has the minerals and he has the money to get it, so...
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. And plus, Archons are so helpful dealing with Vikings. There is going to be a point which, actually, Zan... Maybe I'm going to take that back. Zan not going really super heavy into Vikings. He is still producing a couple more medevacs here and there. Usually it's 4 medevacs and then nothing but Vikings from your starport. If that had been the case, I mean, Archons are so helpful in dealing with that mass Vikings that just take down their 5 Colossus, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, in fact, he uses the Stark Templar to make Archons, so there you go.
He actually finally does get that Templar Archives. A single Colossus is going to be babysitting it. A little bit misplaced Colossus. He just really wants to make sure it doesn't die to a drop, okay?
Yeah, Colossus are really bad babysitters, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right? There's the 4 Marauder drop just comes in, snipes. Actually, it might be more than 4 Marauders over here. 3 medevacs loaded up. Gonna be actually right on top. The Temple, he just canceled it. Doesn't even try.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
thank
man.
you. His 3-3 is maybe not going to finish if that one is focused down, but he'll still have 3-2, which is pretty darn nasty. But more importantly, the third base completely undefended. Oh, the entire army came back to defend this.
Oh man, this is going to be a really nice pickoff over here for Zan. He gets this third expansion. The fourth expansion is also just a little bit to the left of it. He isn't quite aware of it just yet, but he does still have a lot of time just because, again, that drop is actually back in the main base. It takes out the +3 armor that was researching. It's going to be taking out all these zealots as well.
Yeah, Soul trying to split up his army does a decent job of it. Unfortunately, that Archon not getting into the fight really hurting here.
Oh my god, the Viking just absolutely
Colossus.
obliterate the Colossus right now. There's a single Colossus left over. The Stalker's going to be able to maybe pick off the Vikings in time, but oh god, it's just not going to matter. The drop is actually still in the main base dealing damage, and there's no third expansion for anymore for Soul.
Yeah, he did get a fourth, so technically I guess you could call
That's
that
true,
a third.
that's
But one more Colossus died to this drop, and Marauders just automatically targeted it. Soul getting a little fed up here is gonna go ahead and just go, it's like, epic counterattack, but it's not gonna work. The one thing that he has is like maybe the Vikings aren't here, but no, there's still 3 Vikings, no Colossus. Ghosts are even in play right now, so the Zealot Archon composition not gonna be as scary as it could have been.
Oh man, EMP is going down on top of the Archon, and it's just going to be taking so much damage from that. Another Archon comes in to back him up, but is it actually going to be enough? The charge zealots, they're well upgraded. They're out upgrading Zan, but it just doesn't seem like, I mean, he has to do so much unbelievable amounts of damage over here. He has to almost win the game right here, I feel.
Kind of. Zan, remembering that his rally point to that bunker, does bring in the rest of the army. A huge Zealot warp in, but without any cover, I mean, they're going to be kited despite charge. They can still be kited a little, and, always at the last-ditch effort, you can pull a couple of SCVs.
Yeah, oh my god, a little bit of misplacement for a couple of medevacs and Vikings over here for Zan out in the middle of the map. Needs to actually get those back because, again, all he needs to do over here is defend. He needs to make sure he does not lose this third expansion. And actually, when that one's mixed in, this could actually get a little bit scary. Feedback's going down on the medevacs.
He's forgetting a lot of units back at that bunker. The reinforcement point is not with his army, it's back at his natural.
Oh god, this is something that Zan said is not exactly one of his greatest strengths in the matchup. It's that macro, but he is coming in with a lot of Marauders. Marauders can take a lot of shots from those Zealots, from those Archons. Is it going to be enough? He's kiting actually pretty well. This is exactly what you were talking about, Zombie Grub, that kiting action that the Terran player can do.
Yeah. I mean, once the Zealots are awesome with the charge, but the charge does wear off, so that's when they can be kited to death. The Marauders, like you said, they just tank so much. Zan is really going very, very heavy with the Marauders. If Soul had gone that composition that added in, like 4 Immortals, obviously this isn't that big of a deal, but considering that he's only relying on Archon Zealots, and that's it, and, Ghost mixed in here too, I just don't think he can take on this beefy army despite good upgrades.
Yeah, it's going to be really weird. Feedback's going down. The medevacs are just actually, a lot of the ones at the front are low in energy, but there are still quite a bit of energy left on the left back ones. But these Marauders, they've got to get the heck out of here. They are actually just up against a hard brick wall of charge lots and Archons.
Yeah. Oh, well, here comes the reinforcements. The SCVs are getting in line too. There's a DT adding a bunch of damage.
That DT has been there for like the entire thing. He may only have 2 kills, but he's just the one wailing away those first hits on everything. And now he's actually target firing down some of those SCVs, getting rid of them, finally gets scanned and taken out.
There was a point where Zan was up about like 40 supply, now only up by 20. That is, pure army supply right now. When the upgrades, they're still, it's 3-1 versus 2-3. That +3 did finish for Zan, so like it's not as bad as it could have been.
One upgrade behind now.
Yeah, so not as bad, but there's a huge jump up going back into the main. I don't think Soul just has enough money to defend this with warp-ins.
Oh no, he definitely does not. He has enough to warp in like 2 Zealots right now, so he's just gonna try and go to the natural expansion. Single bunker over there. A lot of the SCVs being pulled over here, but I mean, pulling SCVs against Archons, not always going to be the most effective thing to do. The bunker is being repaired. It looks like he's actually going to be able to hold this right now.
Yeah, and that drop is still dealing damage. GT being warped in was his best chance to defend against it, but a scan was found. And also, I don't think that Saul knows that 4th is there. No, he has no idea. This entire time, Dan has been mining off of both 4th, 3rd now.
Oh my god, these are almost all the gateways over here, Zombie Grub, and they're all depowered. That's it. There's no more weapons for Soul right now.
Oh god. Oh no. I mean, he's making so much money. He could at least use the robo that he has to start building. There he goes. Well, it's Colossus from it.
Oh man. Archons finally come to the save the warp gates, but I mean, to what end? They've been depowered for such a long time. Is it a little bit too late? Zan has finally had the opportunity to replenish his army supply and also just get up his damn expansions again, which is honestly what he really needed right now.
Yeah, he's down to 31 SCVs, but with 4 like quadruple SCV production, he can get up pretty high. Now he's probably still worried that Seoul has a very powerful army. You know, he knows he took out the main. He's not quite sure how long the natural is, you know, or the 4th, I guess. The 4th has been up. In fact, he doesn't know about it at all.
Right, oh my god, look at the unit counting station. 3 Archons, 2 Zealots, and a Colossus versus 20 Marauders and 10 Marines. This is, Zan he knows it right now. He's just moving back in. He's gonna continue to drop and continue to be annoying. He takes out the pylons again. Warp gates are depowered once again. That means no more units gonna be produced for a little bit longer. And he just picks up and leaves. Because guess what? There's no Blink Stalkers right now.
Yeah. If Zan had a couple of ghosts in this army, it would be no contest.
Yeah.
I mean, even now it's still kind of no contest, but that would have been absolutely perfect. So, you know, finds the 4th. That was the one thing that Seoul had going for him. All the probes are gonna die as well.
And Zan, he's just picking his opponent apart. He kind of realizes right now that, look, if my opponent doesn't have a very big army, sure, I could just try and win in a straight-up engagement, but you know what else you can't do if you have a small army? You can't really split it up even further. So just continue dropping in the main base, pick off your expansion over the 4th expansion. I like that he's now burrowed a Widow Mine over there as well, just to stop that from being retaken. And Seoul is kind of just starting to run a little bit dry right now. He just doesn't have a whole lot of options left over. He's now trying to move across the map with this army that, you know, it has a lot of high-tech units. It has those Archons that have been alive for quite a bit of time. It has the 2 Colossus, but Zan's just moving in for the kill and blow.
Yeah. Zan has doubled the army supply right now. I mean, we're going back into kind of a weird base trade, but, you know, Terrans, they'll lift to their army if they really need to.
There's actually only one Nexus left over. It's the one at the natural expansion. The 3rd expansion has been taken out, and a majority of the pros have been taken out. This actually does go to a base trade, then it's going to go very, very poorly for the Protoss player. The Colossus have been taken out back at home, and even though it looks like Seoul's going to be able to push in over here with, God, those money Archons. I'm going to say it. Seoul's been utilizing those Archons quite well, but it is, again, as you were saying, like the liftoff and just the ability for a Terran player to win in those base trade situations, and not to mention, oh my god, the Sim City can work out so well over here.
Yeah, GG. Well played. Well played by Zan.
Yeah. Really cool game over there from Zan, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. We're going to be jumping into the analysis segment once again, and again, this is going to be with a different replay than we just watched. Hopefully you guys don't mind it too much. Again, a bit of an issue caused by the 2.1.4 replay bug, but we'll see you guys again in the awesome game, or at least Zombie Grub will see you guys there. I'll see you guys in like 10 seconds. So, see you then. Hey everyone, hope you guys enjoyed that Terran versus Protoss. I'm back here with Zan with the analysis segment. And Zan, what was the context for this game, man? Because the other games that you brought up to us were from the actual Breaking Out Invitational qualifier, but this one is not. Is that correct?
Yep, this game is actually, it's just a random ladder game, and the biggest significance of this game is really that I defend against DTs reasonably well, and I kill a Protoss army reasonably well. So I was like, okay,
all right, best day ever for a Terran player.
Yeah, I'm like, I worked, I won.
I didn't die to DTs, and I killed a Protoss army. This never happens. It was a dream.
Exactly, and no GG, which was the cherry on top. So I was happy.
Okay, wonderful. Well, besides the meta of the chat going on at the end of the game, what exactly was going on in this game?
So yeah, in this game, I'm just thinking, you know, maybe I've played him before. I don't really remember, but I'm just like, okay, Protoss ladder, you know, nothing. I'm just thinking I'm just gonna play my standard game. In this game, I go for 3 racks, which is standard Terran, but not so much standard for me. I sometimes do it, sometimes I don't. It's just one of those builds that it's good to have all around. It doesn't really, it has its strengths and weaknesses, but in terms of like adaptability and stuff, like it's just a strong build to do all around. Like there's no significant weakness and there's no, I feel, significant strength to it in terms of like my aggressive style. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So in TVP, you always want to scout with an SCP if you're on ladder. You know, scout your opponent, see what he's going for, see if you can delay the natural, and then yeah, have your Reaper go and scout the tech. So pretty standard stuff. We see the 3 racks going up, all this good stuff. You know, I'm looking. I see 2 gas, and then I let's see. Do I scout the Robo? I don't see the Robo, but still, I'll go in there and I'll scout it now.
Yeah, you just saw it.
Okay, yeah, so I just got the Robo, so I'm like, okay, he's going for a standard Protoss build, but what I don't know is that he has a proxy in the bottom of the map, which is
so weird, right? Like a 2-base proxy DT.
yeah, it's one of those things that's like you don't really look for, you know, it's just like, okay, like he went Robo, so like what? So I run into his base and debate the overcharge, and then potentially maybe kill some units. Good thing here is I didn't overcommit, so I'm like, okay, I'll just come back. I see still units that are like Immortal's weird, so I was thinking maybe 2-base all in with like Immortal, Sentry, whatever. But it didn't really come to my head that it was going to be DTs because I don't even have an eBay yet.
Yeah, you do have an eBay, but yeah,
Oh, I
you
do
don't
have-
have any missile turrets down.
Yeah, no missile turrets. So yeah, I have an eBay but no missile turrets. And so the first DT goes into my base, in the main, one in the natural. I'm like, oh god, it's gonna be this. And I actually don't have enough scans for the one in the main, so I'm really just trying to buy time so I can get that, get these turrets up. And so I'm taking damage, a bit more than you'd like to take, but really it's like, okay, once the turrets are up, now I'm like, okay, I'm thinking I just need to be aggressive once I get rid of this last DT because what could have been better would be that I would start mixing in mines into this composition. What most Prosses hate is that our mines against Templar openings, and this is a DT kind of opening, so having those mines would have been really strong. But this was before I kind of made the realization that's like, oh hey, mines are really good to make against this comp. So I'm still sticking with the standard bio. But like I said before, when it attacks, I'm pushing in. I feel like I could take this army, and I make kind of a mistake here because I push in here, and the Colossus pops out, and it really, I commit so much to killing it, and I make a micro mistake there, and I didn't lose too much. I'm still dropping, but it could have been worse, but it could have been potentially better.
Yeah.
The drop decision was good because I'm killing probes, I'm doing some damage. I could have gotten more done, but still, I'm like, okay, I know he's going Colossus tech, I've got that concluded. And now it's just like still kind of standard game, but from here you can either take a 3rd CC, which is more standard I think for a lot of Terrans to take the 3rd, or they go into 2 more Raxes, which is also standard. But I definitely like to go Raxes. Usually I like to go 4th and 5th Rax to kind of defend against everything and also be able to attack. So at this point I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get ready to attack the 3rd or his 3rd, and then potentially attack his his natural or his main base, just because it's really good to be able to pull your opponent apart, and that's kind of what I want to do. In addition to that, that would be my window to create my 3rd. So you can see the 3rd goes up in my main, and I'm going to use my units on the map to help buy time for that 3rd to be finished, and then for it to move out. And the reason why I make it in my main is basically because the DT threat, one DT at my 3rd could completely shut it down and then cancel it. So yeah, so I don't feel safe enough to do that. So yeah, we could see 2 drops going towards the main, and then a smallish kind of drop party going harassing the 3rd just to kind of keep him off kilter. I do drop my units on top of his stalkers, which is really good because I can snipe those stalkers. And then yeah, I'm just kind of just trying to buy time, not lose my army. That's engaging his Colossus one, and then just pick up more stalkers. And I'm happy with that. I'm keeping his. Basically, what I'm trying to do is force him to make units he doesn't want to, and typically making stalkers isn't really ideal. They want to get more tech heavy stuff, upgrades, and stuff like that. And I'm using this to attack the 3rd and attack the main, and yeah, you can see my money is getting pretty high because it's really micro intensive, so it's really difficult to do. And you'll see this with a lot of Korean pros as well. Their money will start to float, maybe not as high as mine, but it still does go up when you can tell they're focusing on a fight or doing something else.
Yeah, and I think it's always like really interesting when I always see like Colossus almost coming to the defense against a drop, because sometimes I see that the Colossus just instantly gets picked off and it's like a huge problem. But in that situation, like when you have the 2 Colossus, the foot-ton overcharge, like you felt like you had to back off over there instead of like focus firing down the Colossus, go at them like at all costs.
Yeah, no, totally. I was thinking about that too. I think I may have been able to clip one of them and maybe take the shields up another, but
Hmm.
I just kind of felt unconfident. I was like, you know what, really, I could. I just want to make sure I have my units still alive. So,
Right.
because sometimes I've played games where I overcommit. Like I make that decision, oh, I'll kill the Colossus, and I lose everything, and
Hmm.
all I did was take its shields away or take some health away, and I'm like, well, crap! Like I just lost like 800 minerals and like 300 gas,
Hmm.
and I'm in big trouble. Especially since my third is really late. So I'm just like, don't want to lose those.
Yeah. Now I have a quick question about kind of like the observers out on the map, actually. So your
Yeah,
opponent, I don't know if I'm sure it's like hard to tell exactly when you have stationary observers.
sure.
But your opponent had a really good vision of like most of your drops coming in around this point. Like
Hmm.
he had a good observer position to see like your drop going up to the natural expansion loading up. He saw your drops actually just sitting down below his main base, and I'm kind of wondering like, do you care that much about the drops being there, or is this more just a kind of what you were saying earlier, a tactic to buy time and to allow yourself to secure that third expansion without having to worry about some kind of big attack coming?
Yeah, no, exactly. The observers, obviously, I don't know they're there, and I'd
Hmm.
prefer if they weren't. But
Yeah.
by just, it's just the presence. Like he's like,
Hmm.
okay, he's gonna drop, he's gonna attack me. So it's like, I have to defend, so I have to have units in my main. I have to have,
Hmm.
units at my third because I see another army moving around in the middle, and then it's just one of those things. That's like, yeah, it's buying me time. If you look into my natural, you can see kind of an army being made there,
Hmm.
and that's really hopefully my army that'll help win the big battle that might take place.
Yeah.
And so in this case, the reason why I paused it in addition to your into your question was I'm attacking in three different spots, which is
Right. Which
really nice.
I was gonna say is like so funny because the reason, actually, my follow up to that was gonna be that even though he does know about, he's had vision of every single one of these drops,
Hmm.
and I think he's in some degree reacted to almost all of them. He still can't handle the fact that you're dropping him in so many different locations at the exact same time. Like it's a really cool show of aggression, actually.
Yeah, and it's definitely a little bit of luck on the one that's at his natural because he does
Hmm.
have vision of the main and the third, but the
Yeah.
natural that was like the one chink in his armor. So it was like, oh, now I have this drop that pretty much, it's in his base uncontested. Whereas the
Hmm.
main, it's got High Templar, DT, etc. Only
Yeah.
third, it's got stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things that's like, I'm throwing so many punches, I'm hoping one can land, and the natural's the one that kind of landed the most. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, some like buying mining time. Like he's not mining right now. I snipe one of his upgrades, and my third like my third's still not being mined. This is definitely a weakness that I have. Is my macro isn't as strong as it could be. It's definitely something I've worked on since, but it's finally mining, dropping mules, and basically I should be further ahead than I am right now,
Hmm.
but I'm still in a good spot just through my aggression. And
Right.
yeah, so I make the transition to ghosts because I see a lot of High Templars, and this was when I was like, I really love ghosts early on. You'll see Terran players who might opt for getting ghosts even later than this. Supernova usually like stays on heavy bio for a long time. And Bolt does as well, to a degree. And yeah, so I'm just really just like getting ghosts a little bit maybe earlier than usual. Some players do get them early. It's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like, how do you feel? Like, do you need them? Can you afford it?
Hmm.
Stuff like that. And we see that my opponent is frustrated. He thinks his army can beat mine. He does have a decent army. It's not like super scary, but it's definitely an army that if I make a mistake, I could lose the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with like the meta or the double starport production and everything, um, basically I'm getting the right units at just the right time to defend this,
Hmm.
and we'll see that we'll kind of see that I micro this a little bit better by just the I guess there's two things real quick. So yeah, we'll see the ghosts be microed a little bit better at the main engagement,
Hmm.
but I also have this potential. I snipe the observer here. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
yeah. So I also have this drop that can be used to counterattack his third base. So
Hmm.
in addition to having these drops on the map, he has to. You can see in his main, he's committing units
Yeah.
that aren't in his main army. So it definitely helps.
That's an extra storm, an extra two DTs. That could have been an Archon, like four Zels. I mean, that's actually what, like, I want to say seven units that all cost two supply. That's 14 supply just in his main base. Another like
Mhm.
six supply. That's 20 supply. That's not going to be the engagement. Just because of, yeah, you have those that drop over there.
the potential.
Mhm.
So we'll just kind of see this main army just kind of basically just kind of get melted away. What I'm thinking about is that right engagement. I want to make sure I hit those high Templars because once those are
Yeah.
gone, the storms are gone, I can kind of just hug them. So I just hug his army. The storms are gone, and I can just hug him. And Terran looks imba. At that point, Terran looks imba.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
of course. Yeah, it's one of those things that's like, if those EMPs land, it's just like, this is easy. This is TVP's easy. And then when they don't, I'm on Reddit complaining. So,
oh my god, yeah.
mhm. But yeah,
Um, but yeah, did you have any other thoughts about that game? Because honestly, I have to say that I really enjoyed that game in particular.
yeah. Well, I liked what I can just go through. I like the drops that I did in the game. It's definitely something that I need to go back to doing again.
Hmm.
Since I do that, but definitely not to the same extent as three different drops. Really
Yeah.
aggressive. I think what happened after this game, or maybe what precluded why I did so many drops, was I was watching Major's stream, and he's when Major plays, he's hyper aggressive. He's
Hmm.
always dropping. Like he always uses his APM to either drop or do something crazy. And I think if we were to take the player names away, you could mistake his drops as Major potentially, but you'd know it's me because my macro is awful. So you'd be like, oh, he's really aggressive. This could be whoever. But you look at his third, and it's like not mining for like 2 minutes. It's like, okay, he's definitely a North American guy. But
Oh my
but, but
god.
but no, really. But yeah,
Yeah.
so it looked good. Just the third is definitely something I've been looking at. I've been working on to make sure my macro's getting better. So
Hmm.
yeah, and no further thoughts from there.
All right, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how you do in the Invitational, and of course, how the awesome game is gonna go, man. Because I would have mistaken you for a DJ with the beanie, and of course, all the drops that you're, the beats that you're dropping.
Yeah, I've
Um,
also been called the retired football player lately. That was my last one. I laughed.
oh god,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, you'll have to bulldoze your way through some pretty tough opponents in the Invitational. But guys, let's go ahead and jump back to the interview. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Fear Dragon, and once again joined here by Zan. And Zan, let's talk a little bit about your current experiences in the scene as a North American Terran player, a rarity in and of itself. But you know, we kind of mentioned, like you said, you felt like you could take games off of almost any player as long as they weren't some sort of crazy good Kespa player. What do you think is actually different about you versus maybe a lot of the other players out there?
I think it's more just like my persistency, or that's not a word, is it? Me being persistent.
Consistency
And
and persistence.
yeah, I just put them together. That's why I play my Terran games. I come up with weird combinations that shouldn't exist, and sometimes they work. But yeah, no, it's mostly being persistent and just learning. I feel like I'm a fast learner. I learn a lot of stuff quickly, and it still takes a lot of time. Like StarCraft isn't a game where you can just pick up and beat GM in 6 months. I feel like that's really hard to do, especially if you're playing Terran. I'm getting better at a good pace because the people I play against are all people that typically been playing since release of beta, and I didn't even play at release of beta. I played like 2011, played a little bit, quit, and then came back 2013. So I'm kind of already at a disadvantage by just being persistent, and always finding ways to learn better and practice more efficiently. I think that's what's going to allow me to kind of catch up in the scene. And at the same time, I'm always willing to take risks with builds that kind of deviate from the norm, and practice more with those.
Why haven't you broken out yet? It sounds like a lot of what you're saying is you just need more time. So do you think it is just if you're able to invest more time into practicing, you're able to play that sort of catch up game with a lot of people who have been playing this entire time? You'll be able to become one of those top North American players?
I like to think so. Yeah, I feel like I could at least be. I made a goal a little over a year ago now, same time before I started practicing seriously with some other guy. And
Hmm.
basically, what our goal was, we wanted to have an end goal where we wanted to go. I said I wanted to be good. I wanted to be as good as Suppy. So I wanted to be the Terran version of Suppy. So one of the best players in the United States. And my friend had, I forget what his goal was, but ultimately he quit playing and is stuck in Masters League. And I got to GM, and I'm on a really good team, and things are still moving forward for me to reach that goal. So that's kind of where I'm working towards, and it's something that I can foresee happening. So yeah, I would say more time, another year, and I feel like that would be a good place for me to kind of be in the scene. I feel like if I think in one more year, I think I'll be good. I am good at finishing work quickly too, so it's more so like as long as I'm driven and motivated, the only thing I have to worry about is myself, and that's if
Mhm.
I'm unmotivated, I'm too tired and stuff like that. I can be my own worst enemy. So that's what I'm worried about. But if I'm motivated and doing everything, I should be able to do it. I think there's enough time, and I think with the training I'd have would be more than enough because I already been practicing efficiently. I don't just mass grind games and don't learn. I try and learn from all my games, or I try and learn
Mhm.
by watching replays and stuff. So I think I make the most of everything.
It sounds like overall your playstyle is a very momentum based playstyle. You really like to set the pace of the game. You like to get into that momentum swing. And even when you were talking about how you got through the qualifier, it was kind of like going through game one against Elheim that really sucked. But when you were able to win game two, you start to see that momentum shift back toward you. And after that, you seemed like you felt really confident going through the rest of the qualifier. Like it really seemed to help. What do you feel has been like the hardest part of breaking out of the North American scene for you?
I guess getting your name out there, getting your face out there is really difficult. There's a lot of players who are really good that are pretty much unknown. So even if you're good, it doesn't really matter because you won't like actually break out into the scene in terms of recognition and stuff like that. You have to be like rank one GM, and even then, there's still like some players I feel like they get up there that aren't known. Uh, that was really difficult for me. And then getting on a real team, I say IVD is a real team because there's teams out there that claim they're a real team, but they're really not. Like it's more like just a feeder league. Like you did just take players and they kind of raise them up. I think that's the term. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, getting on a real team was really difficult too because there's not too many of them, and you have to be really good to get on them as well.
I'm gonna ask you to kind of do a little bit of self introspection for a 2nd.
Mhm.
What do you feel you personally as a person, maybe in StarCraft or maybe just in life in general? What do you think is kind of like your biggest strength and your biggest weakness? It's like a job interview kind of
Yeah,
question.
yeah, yeah, sure. I guess I can be more honest here than I would be in a job interview.
Yeah.
That my greatest weakness is probably that I procrastinate a lot. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to a lot of things. I'm just laid back, so I'm not in any hurry a lot of times, and that can be it's good and it's bad. So being able to like I procrastinate a little bit too much. Sometimes I could be practicing more. I'll just be like, you know, watching TV or something. And it's like I should be practicing, but I'm not, or something like that. But my greatest strength is being persistent and not really giving up and the ability to continue to learn. I know I've kind of said that already, but I feel like those are my greatest strengths because with being persistent, I don't really give up. I mean, I hit a lot of roadblocks. I get really mad, but I keep playing. I keep moving forward, and I do that in real life as well. With school and everything, it hasn't always been easy for me. So, and I haven't given up, so I'm still going. And I feel like I learn something new almost every day. And whether it's in StarCraft or on a greater scope, like in real life, uh, yeah, I mean, I'm always just open-minded, basically. I take my losses really hard, and I get really
Okay.
stressed. I do get really stressed really easily, but it's it's more like concentrated stress. Like there
Hmm.
might be 95% of my time I won't be stressed at all, but that 5% will be so intense that it would be almost unbearable type of thing.
I
So I
see.
mean, and that happens in real life too. Like if there's a deadline and I push it back
Yeah.
like to the day of, I will do an all-nighter just to finish it. So that's like all that concentrated stress all in one night. Whereas like the past like 2 months were just spent like messing around doing whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much how that's how they intermingle.
That makes sense. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the awesome game, man. I generally ask for these games to be super awesome, so I'm expecting this to be pretty awesome. But we'll go ahead and jump into that. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will be right back with the final segment after the awesome game. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the awesome game of the day. I'm joined here once again with the illustrious Zombie Grub. How you doing today?
Good word, man. Great.
Gotta stuff up my game on that one. After the flub on the word infamous. Alright, well guys, we're gonna be jumping into the awesome game as we spawn down here in the bottom side of the map, merry-go-round on top of the pink Terran player representing Team IvD Gaming, and the highlight player of the week, it is Zan.
In the upper left as the purple Terran, it's Party W. Actually, I'm going to say it Party Swuts because
I like that. Swuts is actually a very, very awesome word. It's actually a type of potato that's only grown in the Netherlands. So, fun fact.
Is that legit?
No, God, no.
I was like, God, that's like really useless information.
It's like, wow, I was just making up that pronunciation. I didn't know that was a thing. That was actually how you pronounce it. But yeah, actually, so I was told by Zan that this game was speculated to be a game against Trimaster, but he wasn't sure. That was just what people in his chat were telling him when he actually played this game. But obviously, like, based on the colors, it's not from the ladder, so we don't actually know.
Well, you know, people on Twitch chat can be trusted, so.
Oh yeah, of course. Did you actually, in fact, know that Obama is Muslim? Apparently, I saw that in Twitch chat.
Also, Day 9 is dead.
I was so sad to hear about that one. Did you know that he actually dies around 25.7 thousand times per week?
I mean, is that a legit stat? Because that sounds like a legit stat.
I mean, I would believe it based on how many kappas I see in the Twitch chat. Oh god, the Twitch chat has kappas. Anyways, TVT, Zombie Grub, there's a reason why I asked you to help me cast today's games, because Terran versus Terran is one of those matchups that I'm just a little bit confounded about. We talked a little bit about it earlier today, and in that earlier TVT, Doom drops can be very crazy, and Zan has a very crazy, aggressive playstyle. We also have a second Gas Geyser Odin going up. What are you thinking about this game so far?
First of all, if I had known you and me for my TVT knowledge, I would have been like, look, I have a great guy to cast with you. His name's Todd. Pronounce player.
Oh, God.
Anyways, in all seriousness though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit of like just what the state of, I guess, the matchup is right now. Okay, before that Marine is hacking its own supply depot.
Zombie Grub, sometimes you just really don't like your neighbor's house and you gotta burn it down, okay?
I was about to say.
Actually, no, this is actually
Okay.
completely legit, okay? You're allowed to bring your neighbor's building down to, like, smoking, but if you bring it down to, like, burning, then you're just being, like, a douche, right?
I think that's how I live my life, you know? You know what I'm saying?
You know, just
No.
you can be a douche to an extent, as long as you don't cross that line. And the Marine, he didn't cross the line to burning.
No, he didn't. He didn't. That'd be so funny if that was like the difference between like Hellions getting into his base and not getting into his base.
I'm just gonna start doing that now, like as a Protoss player. I'm gonna like attack my own pylons until their like shields are taken off, and then just stop and then regenerate. That's what my units are gonna be doing when they're idle.
Oh, all right. You know what you should do is make sure that their opponent scouts it, so that
Yeah,
they're the
right?
you know on their end they're like, what the heck, and you just like type in chat like a face. It's just like I'm staring at you. I know
Oh my
you.
god, there are so many Twitch. This is where Twitch emotes should be used.
I know. Yeah, it's so useful. Anyways, we actually like no predictions anymore. We actually have what is going on. It's Cloaked Banshee
We bought
versus a
enough time.
Raven opener,
We bought
right?
enough time where we didn't have to make the predictions.
I just really had to bring attention to the fact that he seemed to be purposely killing a supply depot. Just
Yeah, it was an interesting point, and I love also that he's not gonna actually repair it back up, because I guess you don't really need to, but I mean,
like-
we saw in the last TBT he didn't really like go for a super fast like natural expansion. He could actually play one base for a while. There could eventually be some aggression that takes out that supply depot.
well, sparks are flying off of it, so that should probably catch fire.
It's just a working hazard right now.
No big deal. No big deal. So okay, I actually did not notice it was a purple Terran that got the Wood of Mine. I just assumed that it was Zan as an added defense.
Yeah, he does also have the Raven out already in defense of the Banshee opening, which it looks like is once again kind of just the thing that he likes to do. But Banshee now going to be coming in over here. We'll have to see how much damage it can do. Already picking off a couple of these. Why are those? When did those SCVs get weakened?
Good question.
There wasn't a Reaper, right? Like, no, there was no Reaper. When did Zan's SCVs lose health?
I am really trying to figure that one out. Okay, so apparently he lost one more Marine. Nope, never mind. No, he didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well.
Questions to be answered later at a different time.
Well, I will rewind the replay at some point and figure that out. But the Banshee going to continue to harass around. Nice control over here from What's. Taking out the SCV, building the... I think that's what we were calling that. Netherland potato? Netherlandish? Wait, what is something from the Netherlands called? Netherlandish?
Why did you ask that question? That just makes us look really bad.
Okay, you know what? We're both ignorant Americans, okay? There's no Canadians on this one. We're allowed to be as ignorant about the rest of the world as
Oh,
we
you
want
kidding
to,
me?
okay?
The Canadians wouldn't know either.
Oh, this Widow Mine. It's not gonna actually hit the medevacs, but this is actually such a coolly placed Widow Mine.
Oh, it's so close to, right? But
Yeah.
all right. So big question: does what are we calling it? Sweats? Does he know? Does he know this is actually coming? He sees it with a Marine. He's actually going to the. We usually see this attack in the main, and that is, I think, why we have his stuff in the main. But you just got to live with command center and leave.
Oh man, and this is exactly what we're talking about, Zombie Grub. Now look at that supply depot. The supply depot is gonna be in danger. The Raven might throw down an auto turret. He might be wondering. No, he's just gonna be useful. Okay.
Oh, but he doesn't even notice. He doesn't even notice. Oh my god.
Oh my god! Look at the corpses.
Oh.
There's so many dead Marines. We just had 12 Marines die to those.
How?
Oh my god.
He should just push up and win now. Like.
Oh my god.
It was that much damage.
Okay, his siege tanks are unsieging. He might very well do so. He's loading them up again, actually. Is he just gonna... No, he's gonna retreat.
Oh, okay.
He's not gonna retreat over the Widow Mine. Maybe, I was thinking maybe he would catch him on the retreat, but... Actually, the Widow Mine, though, would survive the Widow Mine. Or sorry, the medevacs would survive the Widow Mine. Although one of them was weakened.
Yeah. So we had the Banshee doing a little more damage. 11 kills so far. It's going to be cleaned up now that the Raven and the Viking are out here.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate color choices by our two players right now. It's really throwing me off.
Here's a button. You know, as Zombie Grub, as somebody who spends a lot of time commentating, I'm just going to hit random buttons until I turn them into red and blue. I know there's something for it.
I thought it was Alt-G, but I think that's ping or something. So.
No, Alt-G is ping.
Yeah.
I can ping.
Except I can't ping for some reason.
Oh.
Oh no, I got it. There you
Yeah,
go.
you got it. Yeah. This is the awesome game, guys, where we don't care about the analysis or what's actually going on in the game. We just enjoy the awesome parts of the game.
Whatever. So the pink player, all right? So not the purple, but just like slightly lighter. Oh, he's gonna run over the What am I now?
Oh.
Psych.
Oh.
Bye, fine.
Nice
Hey.
off.
That's what you wanted, right?
Yeah,
All right, so that does alert Purple Terran to what's going on. Does siege up. He doesn't want to go back into his main because he took his base at his third.
Yeah.
Questionable.
Well,
Very questionable.
He did that when there was the drop going down at the natural expansion. I guess he kind of decided, like, I could lift up and go back to the natural expansion, but honestly, I just lose out on a bunch of mining time over there, and my opponent doesn't seem to notice just yet, so why not keep it there?
This is some, like...
Next level.
It's, yeah, that's what I was really, that's what I was gonna say. Next level.
Next
no,
level
but
strats.
it's just...
Just take your third instead of your natural. Your opponent will see your natural.
Okay, now he just picks it up. He's like, okay, I see you coming around the other side. I'm gonna pick up and go back to my natural.
Look, I swear to God, I'm on one base.
Oh, that
What?
poor medevac.
Oh.
Well, I just died without doing anything.
I missed it. Oh, no.
Well, it didn't do anything, so it's not important.
All right.
Alright, so Zan would have gotten a third had he not picked up and moved it, because, you know, legit.
Yeah. This next level mind games over here, but Raven gonna be under fire by the single Viking. Oh, a Raven! Hunter Seeker missing another Raven! I've never seen that before, actually.
Well, not 1 versus 1. Usually it's like 10 versus 15.
Yeah, it's usually like,
and
okay, maybe
TBC.
maybe like the 2-hour mark or something, where it's like 20 Ravens versus 20 Ravens and like Vikings.
Sure.
But yeah, Zan is now maybe a little bit perplexed because he just doesn't know if there's a natural expansion right now, right? Like, you gotta be wondering at this point.
And you gotta assume.
Do you? I mean, he pushed into the natural. He dropped the natural expansion, but like 3-4 minutes ago. You might be assuming now that there is a natural expansion, but he can't. I'm sure that he must be a little bit perplexed that there has been one for this long, right?
I don't know, man. I mean, it looks like he's trying to actually maybe think about pushing in here. Which, I mean, honestly, with a good concave, he could. The question is just, like, how much is waiting behind it? You know, you think you see a really good opportunity, and then suddenly, like, 20 Marines and 3 more tanks come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, shit.
Oh. Look at this Marine over here from Zan. He actually scouts out the medevac as it's passing over. He can
Just,
actually prepare his missile turrets.
I know, right?
Just-
Like,
Oh, did you even need the Marine to scout out that medevac drop? Dear Lord. There was no way
Yeah,
he was
well,
gonna get in. Well, actually,
you want to
yeah.
scout like the Doom medevac drop, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so. Oh, actually, we had no combat shields for either player quite yet. It looks like Zan has forgotten about it.
Just finished up over here for a What's, and we'll see if it's actually going to play an effect. I mean, it
Ooh.
very well could, as now Zan stimming in over here, taking a huge amount of splash damage, but he has a lot more Marines over here.
A lot more Marines, but I mean, there's like, the tanks are dealing with enough, because like, if there's only tanks left over, Zan's not going to be able to push in. That's just the hard fact of it, so. Loses most of the Marines, tries to take out a couple of tanks, loses his own Marines in the process.
Auto turrets. Murder. Oh, that Raven is actually after 13 kills. Zan is actually doing a great job with these Ravens.
Yeah. Those trying to push up and siege up here. Oh, the Marines just run into the
Ooh.
tanks.
Oh, this is actually going to work out really well for Zan. He may end up losing the siege tank, but he kills off a lot more Marines.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know who's actually winning this engagement. What's actually has a drop on the other side of the map that now he's going to stim in, try and move. But
I was wondering where Zan's army was, and I suppose he thought there was a Doom drop or something coming down, because he had rallied all of his barracks to the bottom
yeah.
left of his base.
Oh, I wonder if that was because he did that when he saw the medevac drop coming in with that one Marine.
He must
and
have.
just wanted to prepare
Yeah.
and didn't adjust
Probably
it.
was-
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, where's all my units? Why do I have good supply? But, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Double stimming here is obviously not going to work out. That's going to get away, but it's at 1 health. Literally.
At first you
It's,
don't succeed. Stim, stim, stim again. Unfortunately, he gives up the chase. But
yeah. Well, now Zan is up by about 10 supply. No one really has a faster third. In fact, no one has a third.
this game feels evened out.
A little bit. I mean, the SCVs are kind of the same. Zan is an army supply lead, though, but it's always so hard. Like, 10 to 20 can just be overcome, like, with good tank positioning.
Yeah,
And that's why we have, like, you know, TVTs, like, kind of like the best matchup to, I guess, come back in, because, you know, how tanks work. So it's not a big deal. But it is just important. If he does find that one opportunity, he will have a better army.
All right. Well, What's is gonna have to back the heck out of here because he does not want to do this engagement. He's gonna lift up and back out of there. Siege tanks are sieged up in a relatively decent position over here for What's though, so I think it's still gonna be pretty hard for Zan to actually push up in here.
I'm so surprised. I mean, usually we have... Oh, this isn't going to work out. This once.
Well, actually, he picks up before the siege tanks actually get their shots off.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it was
lose
pretty
too
cool.
much.
Cool. Usually at this point, we'd have one person decide to go for third CC a long time ago. And that's kind of why people go for, like, say, on 2 base or so. Oh, free tank, free tank. Ooh,
Pickup.
sick pickup. Oh, another
this
one.
is the
Let's
other
go.
pickup.
Fail on that one, fail on that one. But yeah, both players just decided to go on 2CC for a very long time. Zan actually finally breaking it at like 1830. That's kind of a late third CC. But it's just been blow after blow, and now
Yeah.
you know it's Sweats who hasn't quite realized that maybe that is the next step, is to get the third CC. He's still defending, he's still defensive, he's still, you know, obviously very scared of Zan. Oh,
Yeah.
nice push up, though.
Yeah, armor actually coming down right now. Is this? Do you think this is just for upgrades, or could we
Yeah.
see like Hellbats come out or something?
Just for upgrades. His
Okay.
one run is finishing up right now. It is
Yeah, yeah.
behind, by the way, by a very significant amounts, honestly.
Well, it's gonna line up well with +1 armor, but yeah, the upgrades in general have just been pretty far behind. But very, you know, we talked about how TVT can be a very positional based matchup. What do you think of the positioning right now of these armies? It's
Well,
kind of,
Well, Sweats is gonna go ahead and get the third command center. I mean, all he has to do is stim and kill it. I don't think he can really save it. I really don't. He might lose his army.
well, here's the thing: is siege
Oh,
siege up
oh.
back, further back.
Oh
so
no,
I
this is
could
a
go
bad decision. Bad decision to make. He's gonna get absolutely wrecked. The army's gonna get wrecked. That was almost a given, honestly, when like you look at that situation. But he was supposed to get the third CC.
Oh man, I think he maybe just instinctively just saw like, oh man, my siege tanks are exposed. He goes back to try and defend them, realizes how many units Zan actually has, and yeah, the third expansion, it stays alive. It goes back and it's gonna be there to continue mining. Guess what? There's still not a third expansion left over for Sweats.
Yeah, that is such a big deal. I mean, his upgrades they're really good, and they're gonna help him win marine fights. But he's probably just gonna, like, there's gonna be, you know, upgrades only help so much when there's 20, 40 more marines than you have. A drop in the main does start to kill off reactors in production, which is quite annoying for a Terran player. Marines are a pretty good position from Zan though, and they will be cleaned up.
Yeah. will actually finally force that back, especially with the siege tank in there. Missile turret. Oh, I thought the missile turret would maybe get a couple hits off. Unfortunately, no. But yeah, finally, I think we're starting to see the game kind of calm down a little bit. Like, there's still little bits of the army of Sweats actually out on the map right now, but I think Zan is finally going to just go for a big army engagement.
Looks like it. You know, he's getting a planetary at the 3rd, which I've actually seen a couple more Terrans do, so I'm not going to just be like lol about it, because it is kind of, it's almost legit strat.
Yeah.
If you know they're going to depend on counterattacking because they don't have a 3rd CC, it might be worth it.
Oh god, Zan actually pushed forward a little bit too far forward with his siege tank, stands up his entire army, and they're now going for it.
The upgrades, though.
Oh yeah, actually really nice upgrades for Sweats right now, but he just doesn't have the marine count right now. He's now trying to move in with the remainder of his marines over at the other side of the map, but the planetary fortress.
Yeah, the
It's
planetary,
too
that's what I'm
good.
talking about. Like, if you know they're going to be depending on that to get back into the game.
He's
Oh,
medevacs.
no. Oh, not quite as bad as Bomber and Red Bull, but still pretty terrible.
Well, I mean, all the medevacs that had units in them do end up going down, so really nice target firing there from Zan. I don't actually know what happens here. Zan's gonna he looks like he wants to go for a big doom drop in the main base. This could work out, maybe?
Just doesn't have to. He is, though. He's going for it. The tanks, are they going to be able to siege? That's what's really, makes the doom drop stick, and so far, they are not. One is going to be end up sieging. I don't think it's enough, though. Yeah, it's going to clean up.
Oh man, this is gonna be really painful for Zan, because honestly, here's the thing, it's kind of like what you were saying, he doesn't have to, and I feel like that's the key thing to focus on right now, because he has a 3rd expansion, his opponent doesn't, like, that's just a matter of fact, and
You
the
know-
main base is mined out, and
Exactly.
for these players,
Like-
like the natural expansion is almost mined out. All you have to do is play patient and deny a 3rd expansion.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, at this point, Sweats could go ahead and just lift the 3rd CC and get a 3rd that way. It's still, I mean, it's still a very close game, and the upgrades are really what's helping Sweats win, but 2 tanks go down, 3 tanks go down.
3rd siege tank also gonna go on down, and Zan actually just has some reinforcing marines coming in. I feel like he's gonna be able to win this, and with this win, even though he lost a large portion of his army in that main base, he's still gonna actually be able to just stay alive. And guess what? The 3rd expansion is down for Sweats, but Zan may be able to put on a little bit more pressure. He has more units that are moving across the map, and well, actually, I look at that right now, but there's still actually a decent number of siege tanks left over for Sweats. He may actually
Yeah,
look
but
at
only
this. Oh.
they're only useful if they're sieged. Only one is sieged, the other ones are in medevacs. Oh god.
Ah, Zan trying to pick up his units against the siege tanks, but unfortunately the Marines just target fire it down and ends up losing quite a few Marines over there. What is this game?
This is probably way more back and forth than it really had to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, Zan, went for the very aggressive drop. Didn't have to. Right now, he's actually lacking on medevac production. Only at 2. I mean, there was a point where he had almost 12, which is very impressive. But now, really lacking on that. Looks like, oh, you know what? Sweats maybe get the same exact mistake that Zan did. Oh god.
Loses a medevac full of units. And honestly, okay, you know what, Zombie Grub, I'm gonna make a really weird statement over here. I'm gonna say that I think that Zan he's playing to his style almost to a fault, but I kind of like it in a sense. Obviously, it's leading to bad decisions where he's like going in overly aggressive into situations that he doesn't really need to be aggressive. But at the same time, like, he's playing exactly the kind of style that he wants to. He's not letting his opponent dictate the way that he has to play. He's not going to play that super defensive, like, oh, I'm just kind of wait until you mine out. He's very unaccommodating to it. He wants to play a certain style of StarCraft, and that's what he's going to do. And now we're going to see the big engagement go down over here. He has a lot more units. He should be able to clean up Sweats' army. Oh my god, I don't know why I would say such an offensive word.
I know, right? God. Yeah, it looks like, he was really trying to, maybe he saw they had an upgrade lead and he was really trying to take on these engagements because he thought that the upgrade would be enough. But no, the Marines are always taking those fights for Zan. And Zan, it was kind of like hovering around the same supply for a very long time. Now I see Zan up by about 30 supply. Remembering to produce medevacs as well, getting a 4th base, quote unquote, as he lists his own command center.
We're seeing about an expansion of every 10 minutes, basically.
That's an excellent point. 10, 20, 30. No
What
big
is
deal.
this? The first 6 months of Wings of Liberty?
No, you'd never get to a 3rd base in that one.
Oh my god, that's so true. Well, Drop's coming over here. Well, kind of drop. An army is coming in over here from Sweats, and he's going to be moving straight up into the natural expansion because the third expansion has the planetary fortress. Could actually get some good damage done over here. At the same time, Zan on the other side of the map denying the money from the third expansion.
Yeah, and cleaning up the rest of Sweat's army, too.
Oh,
there is
yeah.
nothing to defend his natural as well. One tank, a couple of Marines. It is a semi-base trade. Zan, I mean, it's so silly to think, but even if it was going down to a point where it was the last building remaining, he has a planetary that can win against Sweat's Marines, so...
Oh my god, that's actually so true. You don't really care about the defense. You can just retreat to your third expansion. This is the new level strats on the grub. Planetary fortress at your third.
Yeah. It's not going to be the defining moment in this game. Zan is going to win just with an army that like eventually it's going to come back, but you know, it's what's made it look kind of scary, at least.
Yeah, well, it still could be a little bit scary over here. The Sea Chank gets taken out. The rest of the Marines over here for Zan actually gets taken out. And theoretically, this is actually a fairly mobile force, and there's no production structures left over for Zan. I could conceivably actually see... Well, actually, there's a Sea Chank left. The Sea Chank could eventually shell down the SAVs. Maybe? I don't actually... Wait a second, Zombie Grub. This could actually turn into like a really weird base trade.
I don't know. He still has so much army. He's rebuilding his production. He's got a big bank.
It's even Marine counts. I suppose that is a big critical thing, but we still have 3 Sea Chinks left over. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, wait a second. There's still like 49 SCVs left over. For Zan.
Yeah,
Okay,
Zan's still
yeah.
mining comfortably off of 2 bases.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That actually, even without the production facilities, Zan's just going to start floating, and he's just going to start dropping down a bunch more barracks. And you can see he's doing that. He's getting his double. He's like, you know what? I don't have 3-3. 31 minutes, good a time as any. We're in a base trade. Let's just get upgrades. It's no problem.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Well, now, you know, Sweats is going to lose all of his production, and it's going to be even on that account, but the army in favor of Zan loses an orbital, loses the SCVs down here for sure. I just, you know, I'd love to hype it up. I just feel like there is
At
no
this
way
point-
for Sweats to win.
At this point, it's going to be pretty damn difficult. But really, really cool game over here from Zan. And I've got to say, again, like, we saw some... we talked about, like, questionable decisions from Zan and how aggressive he was. But again, I really, really like it, because there's, like, some characters, right? There's some people that you just know, like, they like to be aggressive. But then you'll see some games where they're kind of like, okay, well, you know, it's the smart decision, so I'm just gonna whatever. Like, I'll play a little bit defensive. I'll kind of, like, force my opponent to sort of mine out and whatnot, and you see like the elongated game. Zan is just he's actually so uncompromising in how he wants to play StarCraft and his style that he's willing to do it even when it's not necessarily the most intuitive or logical thing. And I actually have a lot of respect for that. Like, it sounds really weird to say. I have respect for the fact that he's willing to do it when it's not the best decision.
You have respect for the fact that he's super, super stubborn.
Yeah, I seriously do. Okay, if you enjoy
Nah.
expressing yourself in StarCraft a certain way, come on, you've got to have some respect for like somebody who's willing to do it at all costs. They're uncompromising in it.
Before anyone else starts like, you know, anyone like starts laughing or something, as Sweats finally found his production here.
Yeah.
It's a fun like thing to think about how people learn the game and how they get better. The American way and what's taught by most people that you ask, if you ask like an English speaker, is learn macro first and then learn micro and builds and strategies.
Yeah.
The Korean way is actually to learn it the opposite way, where you're kind of cheesy, like, you know, at little efforts, right?
Until Diamond or Masters, right?
You know, like, you know, and then you become like, you know, the macro monsters, and you have all these builds, and you become the MVP of TVT, you know, stuff like that. So he's just gonna keep perfecting these games, and as you see, he wins this one. Kind of inevitable. Again, Sweats made it really close, but kind of inevitable. The more that he practices this style, the more that he like realizes that macro is his weakness right now, and he builds on it.
And he's
gonna be
aware
that
of it.
fun, good player too.
Yeah.
You know, not just fun, but good too.
And I just want to, like, as a slight tangent, that's how Flash started off, right? Flash was renowned as being, like, this unbelievably cheesy guy, and it was, like, building it from the ground up. It was like he built the foundation, and he just worked his way up to later and later stages of the game.
There are so many pro gamers that we can think of that started off as, like, cheesy and very aggressive. I mean,
Right?
Life, Leenock, you know, Flash is probably the most obvious because he
Yeah.
became what's known as the macro god.
Yeah,
So-
right.
So he was different, but
I'm looking forward to Zan, because you know what? He's a very stylistic player, and he knows what he likes, but he also knows what he's weak, where his weaknesses are. So as long as he continues to work on those, he's going to be in phenomenal shape in the future. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him. But Zombie Grub, thank you so much for casting with me all here today. All these Terran games that I was completely clueless in. Where can people catch you at?
You can find me on Twitter at CG Gaming and on Twitch/ZombieGrub.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. Guys, go check out the illustrious Zombie Grub. But guys, we're also going to be jumping back into another interview segment over here with, I believe, Zan. It's been such a long day with these TVTs and whatnot that I'm starting to forget what we were doing, actually. This is, in fact, breaking out. We'll be jumping back to the interview segment. Guys, don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Fear Dragon, and I'm joined here once again by Ryan. And now I just want to talk a little bit more about what you have planned for the future, because this is something that I've sort of been dancing around a little bit. I haven't really been going into too much detail for, but I want to ask you, what exactly is your goal in StarCraft? It sounds like persistency, as you said before. It seems to be one of your big strengths, so it sounds like you're in it for the long haul. What do you want to get out of StarCraft? When do you kind of say, like, this is what I wanted out of StarCraft, and now I'm content to either retire or do whatever?
I feel like for me it was always to be to make it sustainable. So basically to make a living off of it. That's kind of always what I wanted to do. I know it's pretty much a far stretch of a goal, but it's fun, it's exciting, and that's pretty much what I wanted to do. And it kind of justifies all of the effort and everything else. Ultimately, my end goal is just to be sustainable and enjoy it and create content, play competitively, and have fun.
You mentioned how you're interested in doing maybe some stuff with IvD after you graduate and everything. Are you considering going full-time into StarCraft or esports or content production or whatever?
Yeah, there's not too much stuff I can talk about, but basically what I can say is that if I maintain what I'm doing right now and going towards Legacy of the Void, I feel like you're going to hear my name pop up more often, and more things are going to be going on. So, yeah, definitely going to be some big things. I feel like in the following year or two, whenever Legacy of the Void comes out. But yeah, so you just have to stay tuned.
So one of the questions that I've been asking every player since season 1 is, where do you see yourself in 2 years ideally? Where are you?
Let's see. In 2 years from now, I think I will be one of the best American players at that point, given that if things change, whatever, I feel like by 2 years I'll be able to find a way to make it sustainable. And this is keeping in mind that I stay with esports, so something could drastically change and whatever. But I'd have an income, I'd have a living, and I would also be a lot better at the game at that point. And I'll go to more tournaments. I'll be more in the scene. I feel like I won't be right now. I'm a nobody, but by that point, I feel like I'll be more known, and I think only good things will be happening at that point. I have a very confident, optimistic outlook.
Last question for the interview. Why are you worth rooting for? Why are you worth kind of giving support to? Why should viewers look at Zan and say, you know what? This guy he's going to be the next like big North American hope, or he's going to be the next big thing. Why should people be cheering for you?
I guess it comes down to just being like, I'm from North America. Like, I'm from the United States. I'm from Minnesota, and I play Terran. I mean, there's not too many Terran players out there, let alone players in Minnesota who are really good that play. There are good players in Minnesota, but I can't think of any Terran players that do. At the same time, I'm honest with people I like and people I don't like. I don't like to sugarcoat too many things, so I'll be really honest with like how the state of the game is, whether or not like I don't like to fluff things. Like, I know some people in the scene who are well known like to fluff certain things, or they aren't true to who they are when it comes to like talking business, whether or not they can discuss it or if it would affect their financial standing. But I feel like I'll always say what's on my mind, and I think I'm someone like you could trust. Like, I wouldn't want to manipulate anybody, and like that kind of comes in with the passion. Like, I'm not here for the money. Like, I'm here for playing the game, enjoying it, and I like it more than a lot of people. I put more time into StarCraft than 99% of I feel like 99% of the people who play, and it's just like one of those things where it's like I'm relatable. I feel like we could go to a bar and just have a few drinks and hang out and talk StarCraft or talk whatever. Like I have a lot of different interests. You know, I like MMA. I like, which is mixed martial arts, like UFC, and I'm pretty much interested by a lot of things. Like I like all kinds of stuff. So basically, I'm just like relatable. I'm not like someone who's insociable or someone who's mean or anything. Like I'm just, I'm just really laid back, and I feel like you'd have to find a reason not to root for me rather than find a reason to root for me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Zan Matter. He's going to matter at some point. Be on the lookout for this guy. And guys, don't go anywhere. We are going to be jumping into the fun segment, which of course is actually better known as the embarrassing segment for the players. So don't go anywhere, but I do want to ask really quickly, Ryan, do you have any shout-outs that you would like to give before we jump into that?
Yes, I do. One shout-out first to IvD Gaming for giving me this wonderful opportunity to be on their team, giving me that chance, and all the great things they do for me. Shout out to you, Ravi, for breaking out series. It's been absolutely fantastic. I don't think you should ever stop it because a lot of people benefit from this really well. And shout out to my sponsors. One is Otaku Cafe. That's
awesome.
Yeah, they do like figurines and stuff for anime. Fantastic guys. They sponsor IvD. And then there's one more big shout out, and that is, let's see, I just gotta bring it up. I had it here a second ago. It's a new sponsor right now. We just got sponsored by them. They are IL Advertising. So if you go to www.iladvertising.com.
All these links will be in the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Right,
if you're
perfect.
watching this on Twitch, they're all in the chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, just below the video.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah. Basically what they are is they have this submit an app application. So basically you have an idea of an app, you go there, send it in, bada bing, bada boom, it's good. They're awesome people. They've been supporting IvD Gaming. They support esports. You should love them. And yeah, that's all the shout outs I think I got. Shout out friends and family.
What about your own Twitter and YouTube?
Oh, yeah, the less important stuff. Everyone else is definitely more important. Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitch, it's ByzantiumSC. So twitch.tv/ByzantiumSC. And then Twitter, ZanMN. Feel free to follow that. Both of which are pretty active. And I believe I think we're good. I think we're good now.
Sounds good, man. Again, all those links are in either the Twitch chat or just below the video on YouTube, depending on where you're watching this. And of course, if you did enjoy the show, please do consider following the channel on twitch.tv/FearDragon64 and youtube.com/FearDragon64. That is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, except for the embarrassing segment, which you want to stick around for. Don't go anywhere. Hello everyone, welcome to the embarrassing segment. Zan, it's time for the embarrassing segment. We used to call it the awesome segment.
Still the awesome segment.
I realized it was only awesome for me and the viewers. The players tend to be embarrassed, but you actually don't strike me as the kind of person who's gonna be super embarrassed about this. I think you're gonna have a very proud showing for us today.
I think I'll do all right. We'll see.
All right. So I gotta know, what is your unit of choice that you're gonna be impersonating today?
I'm gonna be doing the Thor, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there.
All right, I'm looking forward to it, man. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right. Thor is here. Okay. All right. Get down! Get down! All right. How's that? How's that? Is that pretty good?
Oh, that was fantastic, man. I love the use of the props, man. You actually are specifically a Heart of the Swarm Thor that has like the special cannons and everything, man. That was beautiful. All right. Well, thank you very much, Zan. Guys, be sure to check him out in the future and look for him in the Invitational. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time.